Welcome to Lat B, the only podcast that comes with a free Bandits bonus.
Card delivery included.
Lat B, where MMA and UFC get silly. This is the Lat B podcast.
Welcome back. Episode 241 here at Lat B. We're going to have a hell of a pay-per-view on the way, UFC 244. But before we get into all that, Cheney here is going to let us know what we're going to get into.
So first we are going to recap the glorious UFC Singapore. Glorious for some. Then we're going to get into the Twitterverse and MMA gossip section. We're going to talk shit with the Fight Pick Championships. And then what you're all here for is to break down UFC 244, the BMF title.
Is on the line. What a hell of a pay-per-view you have. One of the most stacked pay-per-views of the year. Feel like we've been saying that as of late. We've been getting some A-plus cards.
I know. I listened to some podcasts and they're like, this is the best fight card in a while. And I'm like, what, in 3 fight cards?
Exactly.
Like, I feel like anyone hating on the UFC, I just think they're doing a great job. And they're like, they're putting too many fights on. They're putting too many. No. Don't you understand when it happens maybe at 3 a.m., it's not going to be the same card that happens at primetime on ESPN. And that primetime ESPN isn't going to be the same as the pay-per-view. There's levels to the game. But I love them all. I want all of them. That's how I know paying attention to those, in quote, lesser cards is how you learn all this information about these guys once they get to be a BMF.
Absolutely. So, super fun one we're going to get to eventually. But first, we got to recap that Singapore show. We had Hughes over Pessoa. Pessoa came in, got a decision. It was gross in Singapore. We don't got to go heavy into any of these bottom cards. We had the debuter. Did you take anything from the heavyweight fight? There was really nothing. It was just Hughes really not showing up.
I'll let you fly through, and if I need to interject anything, I'll let you know.
Then we ended up having Luke.
The interjector.
We had Luke Bumi debut against Albu, the Instagram model.
Not like Nate Diaz.
Very true. We had Albu, though, absolutely get picked apart in this fight. This is a 115er that's going to be tough for a lot of people. Her clinch was really good. I absolutely loved her level of Muay Thai in there. There was an interesting aspect of this fight where the referee started off the night dog shitting on us. The shirt was grabbed so hard for Luke Bumi in the first round that they ripped a hole in it. The ref stopped the fight, said, one more time you do this again, I'm going to take a point. They take Luke Bumi's or Loma's shirt off in between rounds, and within the first minute, Albu's grabbing the bra strap. And the ref is just like, I told you not to do that. You gotta take a point.
That's point.
You gotta take a point.
That's point for sure.
So,
I've said it before and I'll say it again. Fuck you, Albu. But no, I loved everything Luke Bumi. I'm like, that is a sneaky little play, everyone. Pay attention to her. All her skill set looked good. Takedown defense looked good. And she was fast. Fast feet, fast hands, fast everywhere. I liked what I saw. I was really impressed. I should have hung tight with Luke Bumi.
So, definitely a fun prospect in the division. Then we went up to 265 pounds where Sergey Pavlovic came in over Maurice Green. I had Green on this side. You had Sergey. You came through. Herb Dean strikes again. I'm calling that this is gender discrimination. He didn't want to see Maurice Green get beat down because I thought he was still in the fight. I thought Maurice Green did get hurt, but he was intelligently defending himself. He didn't go limp in there by any means.
I don't know if it. Maybe his eyes got Herb Dean thinking like, he out.
He was looking this way.
Yeah, he asleep.
He ain't even looking straight. Yeah. No, that's Maurice Green. That's a crochet boss naturally. Poor guy.
That's so funny.
So can't take much away from that because I still think Pavlovich gasses later on in fights if he doesn't get you out in that first round. He was able to do that to Mr. Green.
And I still will have Sneaky Pavlovich as plays in places because he's one of those frightening guys that if you can make it past 5 minutes. So a lot of these guys that look really hot coming off the Contender Series, he's one of, if you can get through Sergey.
Good point.
Do you like what you saw from Maurice Green in that fight, or are you kind of like, ugh?
I still like Maurice Green. I still like Sergey. I was surprised that they got matched up so early in their careers, especially with the weakness of the division. They could have just been matched up over either guys, but I think that this is a rematch in 3 years, easy.
Yeah.
So it's going to be fun to see where both of their careers go, and I am on positive on both of them as well. Then we move on to a decision at 145. I feel like we got a pretty good read on this fight. I feel like it went just as the breakdown. Barzola finally being able to stop the takedowns after the first round, but it was just the volume and the constant pressure of Evelev that took over in this fight. Barzola is being figured out. A lot of people have started to figure out. It's still going to be a tough test because it's that grindability we tend to lean on, but Evelev has that in spades. Give me Movsar a lot moving forward, but I think with this type of an outcome, a lot of people are seeing what we're seeing with Movsar. You were big on him. How do you feel he showed up against the Barzola?
I loved it. I loved everything I saw. He's one of those guys that there's no sneaky plays with him anymore.
Agreed.
He should be a favorite from here on out until he gets to a big name that people are going to kind of sleep on him just because the people that don't pay attention to these fights that happen at 5 a.m. might not know about Movsar like us hardcores do. So,
Agreed. Then we ended up going to 155 pounds where we have Rafael Fiziev coming over Alex White. The gasoline dream himself gassed out after that first round. Fiziev staying in the face, using that Tiger Muay Thai kickboxing to just pick apart White. White showing his toughness, but that's kind of the common denominator in White's fight career is he shows how tough he is in every fight, and that usually means he's losing or at least getting tagged up. And he's grown a bit, and then he just kind of plateaus for me as far as his ability. So just someone still got to be super tentative with. Fiziev looking all sorts of mean in there, showing the good takedown defense. So liking what I see from Fiziev, going to be super tentative on White moving forward.
watching this fight, I think White kind of stays where he is, but Fiziev, this was the perfect next step in my opinion. And I am interested with him going against better guys, but I liked everything I saw in there. I was kind of a hater going into it a little, but his skill set, beating Alex White is no walkthrough for me.
Agreed. There was toughness shown by both guys in there in that fight. Then at 115 pounds, we both had a dirty split going into the weekend, and that's what we got. Oh man, this was the dirtiest of splits. I had to put Visine in my eyes. I was getting all sorts of pink-eyed in there. It was just...
We both had dirty splits on our cards?
Maybe
I might have.
I did for sure. Maybe we did on the breakdown, but I did.
You had Yoder and I had Marcos, or we both
and then
ended up
I
with
went
Marcos?
over to Marcos eventually, but even the scorecards had it as a split decision. I mean, as close as it gets to takedowns and out Marcos. They're middling top level.
I had Yoder on air too. I switched over to Marcos too as well. Yeah,
so
I think so.
It was the good switch.
One of the fights.
It was the good.
I was like, why am I doubting Ronda Marcos against Yoder? What am I doing?
Great point. So it worked out for both of us, but as far as the DraftKings cards, it was garbage for everyone. Good thing we stayed away from that one because there was just no point outputs at all in there. Then we ended up going over to Muslim Salikov coming in at 170 pounds over Strapoli. This was a one-sided fight. I mean, the tactician, Sambo Master, King of Kung Fu himself came in, spinning all sorts of shit up on the young man, really getting Strapoli to be hesitant, which is what you got to do with a young man that's pressure is his main attribute. And the King of Kung Fu did that perfectly. Someone to really watch out for. He had a unique upset against Alex White because he was able to get it on the ground, but we're seeing big turnarounds in the King of Kung Fu's takedown defense. It's getting a lot better, but Strapoli still has a lot to learn. I like both guys moving forward. I think it was a good showing for Strapoli just to be like, all right, we got an L in here, but hey, he didn't quit in there. There was a lot of positive movement, and he didn't just keep getting set up with the same shots over and over again. So moving forward, I'm still a fan. This actually started off the main card for the Fight Pick Championships for us. This was when it started to really count in here. So for me, I had Strapoli. It ended up sucking for me. You ended up going the other way with Sakla. Why can't I say his name? I keep reading it. Salikov in there.
If I would have read it, I would have effed it up.
I did.
There's something weird about that lick in the middle. Hello.
So, what do you take away from this main card?
I had Salikov knockout round 1, so it didn't do a ton for me on the Fight Pick Championships, but I did have him on a lot of my cards, and his points still paid off with the amount of volume and output. So, I'm not really fond of Staropoli, so I don't know how good I think Salikov is from here, and I don't think we'll ever see him fight in the United States.
Ooh, interesting.
He's old.
He is definitely
He's
like
36 or something.
He's like 35, but he's going on that 42. He's that Russian 36 where you're like, ooh.
That may be his real age.
Exactly. So, still, fun guys to watch moving forward. Then we go back up to 265 pounds where we had one of the reads of the night. We both came in on Cyril Gain, the prospect at 265. We both told you here, submission is probably what's going to go down. A lot of people were saying that was crazy. A lot of people being like, how is it not a knockout? Well, Rodriguez not that good on the ground, and Gain, sneaky. I didn't foresee a heel hook by any means whatsoever, but I did have a submission round number 2. This was just absolutely beautiful work.
We both kind of thought that eventually Gain would feel Gain.
I've heard them all promote.
That he tied. Gain. Sorry. That he was kind of going to play with him and not want to knock him out just because he could decide wherever he wanted to finish.
That's 15 minutes of UFC ring time that is invaluable. That's under the brightest lights. You're not in danger. You're doing absolutely
Your name's
fine.
under the lights.
Exactly. A lot of people watched it, and it was really good. I absolutely love that it showed that Gain has a 3-round gas tank. Easy.
Look back at the timestamp on if you're following, which I'll get into later, everyone. If they looked back at a tweet you put out before this fight, Gain, one to watch. Be careful, Gall, coming up to the division. Now I see everybody. It was like you were the conductor of the train. They just didn't know you were driving yet. You were like, I said that shit.
Definitely watching the tape on this guy and just seeing his progression in the sport. It's going to be meteoric rise.
And he's like 10 by knockout and some by submission. Like, he's super well-rounded.
Exactly.
His body is, like, sexy. It's not, like, fat heavyweight.
Now people are going to say, I told you so. What we're going to tell those people, we told you so. Because we said that. I was saying that in his first fight. Like, this guy's going to be a beast. Can't wait. He's going to be a superstar within a year. So, there's no way around that one.
He'll be fighting Ngannou in a year. He'll be fighting Overeem in less than a year.
Ooh, I call him Overeem light myself. So that's a big test. Really big test. But I think he does get it done. So fun prospect to watch in there. Mays, I think actually Mays can do pretty well in the heavyweight division. I think Mays against Pessoa, Mays got that fight. And even against Hughes for that matter. So lot of turning around up in there.
I don't know about Mays. I don't know. I know fight dependent's the least favorite, but I just don't know how I feel about him. And because I don't know how I feel, well, I guess we gave him till the second, and it happened in the third. So enough to say, if Gain's as good as you think he will be, then we'll look back at this and be like, but he lost to Gain, whatever.
Exactly.
Tied.
So definitely someone to watch out for later on. Then we move to 155 pounds where Beneil Dariush, Benny, and the Jets got it done against Frank Camacho.
Not anyone had Mays, though. Every single person in the Fight Pick Championship had Gain.
Yeah, but it was all TKO.
All KO.
All KO, TKO. Nobody had submission. Even on the Verdict Championships, 2% had submission even.
Ooh,
so, just saying. As I was saying, with Dariush...
This was one of the fights that split
a lot of people.
Yeah, this is where it started to unravel for the rest of you.
A lot of people coming in with Camacho thinking that power is going to get off, but Dariush showed his pinpoint striking from King's MMA and his elite ground game. There's black belts, and then there's black belts. Dariush is obviously that next level. Camacho didn't show any resistance at all on the ground, but even the striking, if Dariush isn't getting caught, if it's not going later into the rounds, he is a finisher in his own right. That chin scares me so much. I was big praises for Dariush, but, with the type of career he's had, in the division he is, it's the only division that you can be a top 10er, lose 2 fights, and be fringe 25. And it's like, you're Beneil Dariush, are you kidding me? So, really interesting division. Absolutely love it. I think Camacho still beats some level in the UFC, but Dariush, he's making his way back in with a 3-fight winning streak, finally getting back on track.
He's got sea legs.
Then to the co-main event, we go into potentially a robbery. We had Stevie Ray getting a dirtiest of splits against, or a majority decision against Michael Johnson. It was 2 rounds in my eyes. Johnson first and second, and then a potentially 10-8 for Stevie Ray in that third, especially in those last 3 minutes. So draw in my scorecard, but Stevie Ray winning, I just didn't have it. People I saw are saying that Stevie Ray won the first round. Yes, he had more volume, but as far as the damage and the rocked opponents, Michael Johnson was never on wobbly legs even once. And there wasn't a takedown. It was just the volume of, what was it, like 15 to 20 strikes. And pitter patter, it's just, that damage really added up on Stevie Ray. I didn't like it. I thought it could have been a draw, which would have nullified my bet anyways. So I'm just saying Stevie Ray didn't win the fight.
I 100% agree, and I feel like everyone I know that voted for Stevie Ray don't think he won either. But dim's the rules. That's the only fight I got wrong in the night, and that hurts.
It does hurt.
That hurts.
Definitely. But what are you going to do? It's the MMA game. It's the rules. We're still learning. We're still playing with the rules.
I shout out a little early because we're getting to the Fight Pick Championships anyway. All 5 right.
Hot sauce.
And sometimes, because I've been on the other side of it, sometimes you get lucky. Sometimes your fighter didn't really win and you knew that shit, but what's you gonna do?
100%.
I feel like since the Fight Pick Championship happened, that shit never falls to me. Never falls to me.
It goes the other way every time.
Not saying it's all about me, but...
But definitely... It was a close Fight Pick Championship this weekend, but if you haven't looked at the scorecards, Lab B has a little bragging to do. We did
good.
We definitely did good. In that championship, we both had the underdog. If you like to make money, you're on that plus money plus style. Plus 150 when it was all said and done. I think closing lines were maybe plus 140 for Damian Maia. But I feel like, as we were talking about it on the breakdown, it almost exactly as we said. It was going to be in those later rounds, and Ben Askren just hasn't seen the level of fighter, hasn't fought that much, and he's a worse striker and potentially might not have a better gas tank.
Oh, I saw some people like, why did Ben go to the ground with him? He was winning on the feet.
That's what he does, and he wasn't.
And he wasn't. Yeah, I was like, what? You were watching a different fight with biased eyes.
He was landing uppercuts, and they both were cut up. It was actually a fun striking exchange for both of them a lot of the time.
It was the best we've ever seen either of them in a striking exchange because of the respect on the ground. It was interesting.
It was so great.
When they went to the ground, it was like so intense and tight.
But I feel like I was watching Maia win all of those scrambles on the ground and being like, we told you so. Told you Maia is going to be better regardless. And I forgot to bring up that you've seen in training footage of Ben Askren definitely getting the better of by jiu-jitsu masters. But I also want to say Ben Askren gassed and he tapped or went to sleep, because I don't know if he went to sleep. I think he was absolutely gassed. Because that was a desperation shot, as we said. What does he do? Revert to when he's finally hurt. He's like, I'm just going to wrestle. And then I'm going to give up my back. And then I'm going to get submitted. I feel like I said that.
For me...
And that's exactly what happened. He gave up.
This is actually the fight because of the perfection call of Maia submission round 3 that I knew solidified my victory as the queen of the Fight Pick Championship. But to me, it was proof that Robbie Lawler was out. That's how quick... it's not about the choke. If you just cut off that artery, how long does it take for blood to start pumping
4
again?
seconds.
No.
Oh, no, not to pump again, but 4 seconds for the choke to set in the military is what.
No. I'm saying once someone's out,
relieves it.
Boom. He caught him. He rolled over, and that to me, that's the exact same thing that happened to Robbie Lawler. And the only one who knows that is Robbie effing Lawler. And maybe he'll never admit it ever in life, but that exact same thing that happened to him, he went to sleep, and the second that Maia let it go and rolled him over, he was like awake.
So you think he went out?
I think he went out.
I don't think he went out. I think he was like, I'm going to get finished anyways. Tap, I'm asleep. Oh, yeah.
One day, technology enough, video's going to play. And we're going to pause it and watch it.
Because it was literally 1 second. In the rollout of the submission, he woke up.
Yeah. That's where I'm saying it was the exact same as Robbie Lawler.
So, perfect segue into the Fight Pick Championships. As we were saying before, Cheney taking it down, Lat B representing. I only ended up coming in fourth again. You know me, I like to touch everybody. I like to know where everybody's at in the competition.
In the middle, but creeping.
To the positive, for sure.
Creeping up. You're kind of like, you're like the Dustin Poirier of the Fight Pick Championships.
Oh, right, wow. That is gracious. Thank you very much. Thank you. I would only hope I could be put in that
like
position.
Somebody or like middle back that you're like on the right day. Maybe it's not Dustin Poirier, but I definitely think you're creeping up the hole.
Oh, we both are, definitely, with this heavy duty win. I mean, woo! The shit talking's been getting heavy duty out there.
Yeah, I'll give a shout out and read them all real quick if you want.
Let's do it.
So I got first, then Clout9, and make sure you're following all these people. Or look up their shows on wherever your podcast is sold or free. So Clout9, third. Buddy, he is every week strong so far.
He's definitely
every week strong in the top.
He's turned into the real dark horse of the division.
I don't think he's dark horse. He's sitting at the top of it.
He's been sitting the whole time.
He's never been in the bottom, I don't think.
Okay.
He's not like Ricky. I'm just kidding. I always fuck with Ricky. Yeah, so then fourth, tied for fourth with Darth Smokes is your own Zoltanite. You've never been in the bottom either. I feel like you're tied for fourth every week.
Every week.
And tied.
Yeah,
That's
agreed.
very twin of you.
It's in the genes. It's in the genes.
Tied. Is that Sue saying that you're going to finish in first place tied? Who knows? But then 5 is the World Winning Federation. So if you're any of our fans that also are into wrestling or video games, you can go over to World Winning Federation's channel. At Pure Evil MMA, new to the game. I believe he has a podcast as well. Backlog, who puts on the best Discord channel. So shout out to Backlog. I believe he also streams Grampy back. The Juicer, who does Fighting With Yourself podcast. Way down there. With, guess who? Ricky. Anyways, but yeah, so make sure you're checking them out and listen to their shows. It's super fun, and we talk about how much we like different MMA shows and different takes and different kind of personalities, and so everybody's that. We'd be like a real world house.
Who would Ricky be as the MMA fighter? I would say he's the Megan Anderson.
Because he won once by poking an eye out
and then lost everything else decisively.
He's Megan Anderson because the juice is...
It couldn't even be Ben Askren at this point.
Ben Askren. No, because Ben didn't... Well,
he won Robbie. One. He did win one, so it has to be someone on, like, Novell. Someone who just... No, he's...
Telenovelle. I know. I wonder, somewhere on this, there's probably the whole layout of the week scoreboards or the
rankings as far as a whole.
Yeah.
But
look up, like, and subscribe. We'll get to the other stuff. So,
as we were saying that other stuff, Twitterverse has got to be hot in your ears right now. There's been a ton of news. Absolutely unbelievable amounts of news coming down. Since the last time I think I woke up and all of a sudden it was PED suspension. Dun, dun, dun. Your boy, the one who supposedly is off of everything, vegan only, certified, popped for USADA. He was told to keep hush hush. Everybody has been hearing about this unless you've been living under a rock. Can you please completely fill us in as far as what went down?
So Nate Diaz popped for some substance that you informed me later was actually a substance from TJ Dillashaw's
which is unsubstantiated. It's unsubstantiated, but I did hear it was clean juice products from TJ Dillashaw's company, but I don't know how factual that is anymore.
Or maybe it's Clean Juice Products and TJ Dillashaw's company just happens to sell
Endorse
it too.
Right.
So that went down, and it looked like the fight was going to be off, and I thought it was always a work, because the same exact day that happened, some Irish lad we know gave a weird press conference in Russia. Like, wasn't that...
weirdest.
I have to tell you, I was such a Connor Dick rider. If you've been a listener to the show for a long enough time, you friggin' know it. I didn't watch this. I have no idea what he said at that press conference.
Me neither.
You didn't watch it either?
I didn't. I watched highlights, and the only highlight I watched was him dodging a bottle, him, showing off that good head movement. So it was definitely.
So the same day that gets released about Nate, and then Nate comes out and he's like, "Fuck that! I'm clean. I'm not letting the UFC or USADA think they're gonna hold one over my head like I'm some John Jones, and I am gonna come out and say I don't give a fuck. The fight's off because my reputation means more than that until they clear me. They're gonna come out and clear me, or I'm not fighting." And guess what they did? Came out and cleared him the very next day because and I think that is the moment everyone should know. Connor got his shine from Nate.
I love it.
It was the perfect fight and the perfect thing to happen to him for RDA to fall out of that fight. Connor would not be as big as he is now if that fight didn't fall out. He would have never gotten to fight Floyd. I think Floyd was probably a Diaz brother fan for way back.
Oh, sure.
And not that he wouldn't watch Connor, because everybody was liking Connor coming up. He was hot. He had all of Ireland behind him. But look at the world, you guys. Ireland ain't that big. That's like saying he had all of Illinois behind him. Cool. Good on it. But, so anyways, Nate's back. The fight's still on.
Name cleared. Jorge Masvidal come at him initially and was like, I know my dude's clean. If he doesn't come, he doesn't show up. Whatever.
And he also was like, I almost had a heart attack.
What? He's like, I was 2 pizzas deep.
Yeah, he went and ate his face off. Did you catch the Brett Okamoto with Game Bread walking around his projects and stuff in Miami? Or neighborhood? That was so racist of me. His apartment complex. It doesn't have to be the project.
I have seen so many, and yes, I believe I did catch that good amount of stuff. Tons of footage coming out. All the embedded, there's been 3 to this point. I know open workouts are going on today, which we're going to have late breaking news that I feel like will break once we get to that fight, because it's a juicy tidbit that is going to affect the breakdown.
We'll save it for a tidbit and not drop it as Twitterverse.
Exactly.
Because it's from the inside.
It's a fight changer.
That's inside gossip.
Definitely.
So, yeah, you were also saying?
That Paulo Costa had ended up falling out of his fight with Israel Adesanya. He's going to be out for at least 8 months. Yoel Romero already clapping back on the Twitterverse saying that he's ready to take the fight. A lot of people...
Wait, Paulo Costa pulled out of a fight with who?
Israel Adesanya, because he was going to be next in the...
Oh, yeah. That wasn't even booked, though. That was nothing. He has to go to a cycle real fast.
Well, that's what people, funny enough, people have been saying, hey, does he just need to take time to let his cycle wear off so that he can get in there? That's exactly so interesting. You don't think it's an injury. You're in that train of thought.
No, because we've seen that guy with an IV. We've all seen it. Paulo Costa is juiced to the gills.
Interestingly enough, because we're saying that Nate is clean, but here clearly everyone's like, juiced. Nate actually has a infraction, and if it were John Jones, we'd be like, of course. It's the track record.
But John Jones hits pregnant ladies.
Right.
Nate has always done everything he said he was going to do. Like, he pretty is
true. And
straight up.
He stood to lose a lot of money.
I know people could hate the Diaz's attitude and, like, how, like, they get really mad because the Diaz's are like, I'm the best. And they're like, oh, you have a 50-50 record. Like, they get so fucking pissed. And it's like, dude, his shtick is the OG shtick. Like, what do you not get about the Diaz brothers shtick? Like, it's them.
Well, their shtick is
they're themselves,
yep.
But they're true to the core, and you're not gonna punk them.
Yep.
Good luck.
You're not gonna hold one over on them.
Yeah, they're not playing games.
So everyone's saying what you're saying with Costa. Back to that one. Romero's looking to step in. That's gonna be a fun one. We've had all sorts of other fights booked.
In my opinion, as much as we all love Costa, and you can think he's amazing and everyone thinks he's a beast, it does more for Israel Adesanya's street cred. Even though he just beat Robert Whittaker, there's so many haters on him still. If he beats Yoel, that gives him the hardcore cred. Like, he's legacy, I feel like, for hardcore is in a different way.
Izzy and his coach Israel Adesanya posted Eugene Behrman telling him about Costa, and Behrman saying, shut up all the haters and fight Romero to shut them all up. And Izzy said, or texted back, that's exactly what I was thinking. So it looks like that Romero fight is
right now,
booked essentially.
who would you have in that?
I mean, I gotta say it's Izzy right now.
All day.
Right?
Yoel
With
looked
the
slow as
takedown?
fuck in his last fight, and Israel looked faster than he's ever looked.
Exactly. It's just trajectories of the sport
Yeah.
where they're at in their careers right now. So unfortunately for them, it's gonna be that one.
Did you see about Aldo fighting Moraes at 135?
At the weight class 135 pounds,
Yeah,
I
Marlon
did
Moraes
see.
versus Aldo at 135.
I did see that, and all I gotta say is poor Frankie Edgar. You're never gonna give him a title shot. He's never gonna get the title. It's like, all right, guys, I'm gonna finally move down.
Remember the whole Frankie Connor booyah? That meant nothing.
Nobody wants to see that fight.
No, but I just think it's so weird. We have actually watched Aldo be one of those dudes that has looked painful getting to 145. And now he's going to go 10 pounds off of that. And he's so old. I hate when people say he's older than he's ever been. Well, yeah, we all are.
Yeah.
And now I am again. But yeah, he is. He's so much older. And to go down 10 pounds, if Aldo goes down, can he be the champion at 135?
No, I don't think so
He
anymore.
can't beat
I think
Henry.
people have his number as well. And at the
He's
lower
lost to
divisions,
Connor and Max. And how many?
I think that's it.
Max twice.
Right, and decisively. But I feel like with Aldo, enough people have figured it out, and at those top levels, especially the older you get, the lighter you get, just doesn't make sense. Those guys usually phase out before any other weight class. That's why heavyweights can be 50 years old, and lightweights are usually 30 is like their limit, I feel like, a lot of the time. I could be wrong there. You could prove me wrong, but just look at the numbers. The up-and-comers are by far the youngest of them all. Any other Twitterverse stuff? Any other pressing matters?
No, I just know for fight fans, did you end up catching any of the Bellator? I know that was a big deal this week in Lima versus McDonald.
I only watched Lima McDonald and it was on a replay. I just don't have the time. And I placed a little bit of money on Lima, but he was the favorite. It's because he just got to fade McDonald at this point of his career. Anytime that these guys turn to an external force that's
The
above
Lord?
theirs.
Are you trying to say
Whatever
the
that is.
Lord?
Whatever that is, but when a fighter comes out and says, I don't know if I want to fight people anymore, I'm never placing my money behind you ever again. So that was Rory after his last few fights, and it showed. He just couldn't get into that second gear. I didn't watch anything else. I heard Frank Mir, Roy Nelson fought, but you couldn't pay me enough money to watch that fight.
Yeah, I didn't watch any of it either, but I thought you might have some enlightenment. But you know what we're here for. You know what we're here for. Everyone knows what we're here for. It's UFC 244.
This is definitely going to be a hot one. Pay-per-view of the year potential. You're going to have to put down 65 smackers on your ESPN Plus. The only way you're going to get it in the States, make sure to check your local listings. We are going to end up going to New York. We're going to be in that Big Apple. Be taking a big bite out of crime in here. The president is going to be making an appearance, which has been some of that Twitterverse stuff, some of that pay-per-view talk. We've never had an active president ever be at a UFC fight. This is groundbreaking stuff, and I am so excited because this brings so many different eyes to the sport, and I think it's just that much more of a pop. I don't give a shit about your politics. It's an active president during his active tenure visiting our sporting event. Let's do it. Doesn't matter what president.
You are right. The amount of new eyes that it's going to bring, and what a perfect fight card to bring them to.
Right?
Also, do you think he'll be sitting next to Colby Covington?
I hope so much.
Because isn't it perfect that he's at a Masvidal fight, Covington?
He's
just
not
with the story.
He's not there, is he? Is Colby over in New York? Because ATT, they're all like split up. Jorge and them have a
I don't
beef.
think. I'm not meaning on the good side. I just mean because the storyline they're trying to set up for potential next fight.
Good point.
Putting Colby at the ringside, it sets up potential stuff that you can use for clips later on.
Sure.
And having him sit by the president
Woo!
the whole night.
That would be unbelievable. So the crowd's going to probably boo? Or do you think a lot of UFC fans like our president? I think it's 50-50. I think he gets as many cheers as naysayers, but
I think
we'll see.
Yeah, I have no idea. I feel like I've seen everything. I've seen people that yell Brazilian shit out at fights, also chant USA, also chant, like, we chanted everything.
We did chant everything.
So I have no idea. I don't know.
The president, though, did support the UFC when it was still only on pay-per-view, where you could only get it. He held it in his own towers. Like, Dana White has come out many a times and been like, I support him. Like,
I think Dana White introduced him at the RNC.
Yeah, oh, yeah, he did. Oh, yeah, we talked about this years ago. We saw it coming, so I could see people cheering more than people are going to be, or people will be surprised regardless. So, definitely interesting aspect we have at the Garden. It is going to be in Madison Square Garden. Do you think that's going to affect any of the fighters with it being such a big venue? Because people wait a lifetime.
Here, right, we don't have to worry about elevation. We won't have to worry about 200-degree stadium. We won't have to worry about, really the only thing we have to worry about is the lights, the fame, the biggest sporting event probably in the world, or arena, probably in the world, the MSG, like some of the most iconic things that have gone down there. And so that's really our only, and the worst thing. That dirty New York commission.
I was about to say, the commission.
And your girl, Adelaide Bird.
The most garbage. This is such a high-profile pay-per-view that's where the Adelaide Birds are like, I'm on that fight card, and they're like,
oh, yeah. I'll sit in front of the president.
Exactly.
Gurgle.
Exactly.
That's nasty.
That is nasty. You dirty. So.
Trump would never. His wife's a dime.
So.
She ain't my type at all. I just feel like she probably is a she-bot. Like, there's probably 10 of her. She's plastic. We don't have to get into that. You know how I do.
So, getting back to this breakdown, it's going to be a 12 card bout, 13 card bout. I'm all mixed up. You got me seeing all sorts of political stars in my eyes right now. But you know how we always do. We always start from the bottom all the way to the top. And it's not going to change here with a 145-pound bout with Julio Arce versus Akeem Dawodu.
Are you kidding me, you guys?
This is
the first fight of the night.
Smoke show. This could be an absolute fight of the night contender. Both of these guys on high trajectories. Dawodu coming in with a 10-1 record, 3-fight winning streak, only losing to Henry via TKO.
This shit looks tight and framed.
I agree. Those frames are dope as hell.
On the wood, it looks nice. If you follow on our YouTube channel, you could see that.
And our Instagram as well.
Oh, yeah. I never really put up these, though. Maybe I should sometimes.
These are dope enough. These are dope enough to go
Maybe I should
over.
at least put the main event.
Agreed.
Yeah. Okay. Done.
So, with Dawodu, he's been mainly a striker, been showing improving fights in there. He's been at Creed Championship, really showing off the takedown defense, has gotten a whole lot better. Coming off of a knockout 3 months ago to Hori, a debuter, but before that, he actually had some profile wins, split decision over Bochniak. Again, showing that he's finally maturing in there at 28 years old. Against Julio Arce, who's 16-3, coming off of a win, lose to Julian Erosa, but losing to Sherman Moraes, split decision, having 3-fight winning streak in there, beating Dan Ige in an upset, but really just showing a well-rounded game plan. Tough on the ground, good hips, a good striker. Actually, the power for Arce is a little sneaky in there. He hurts a lot more guys than you would think in there. He doesn't really kick all that much, and that's where Dawodu, striking-wise, is definitely going to have better angles. People want to get Dawodu on the ground because they don't like his striking, but he has shown that he can get back up once he gets there, and I have been really torn on this fight. We usually tell you guys to stay away from these first fights of the night, but these guys have enough fight caliber.
But on an ESPN card, this could be on a main card.
Main card anywhere else. But with that, I think the stay away on this is actually the right play. I got Dawodu the slight favorite here at -135, but I think Arce can make it dirty enough of a split that they don't score heavily on each other. I think Dawodu can even hurt them and nullify rounds in there, but the more output slights he goes to Dawodu, I think he can keep it where he wants to. Give me the slight favorite here. I'm going to probably stay away from this on DraftKings once we get there. Who do you think you're going to have in this bout?
One thing interesting to me, besides both these guys being so amazing on this fight card, I too went back and forth. I have the underdog. I have Julio Arce. I think Duwadu comes out super powerful and scary and strong, but Julio is better everywhere to me. I think the loss, it was really something kind of he needed for this next trajectory of his career and to start changing the things. I've always loved everything that I have seen come from Arce. The other thing, Hakeem Dawodu, he gasses out. Julio Arce will not gas out, and I do think it's going to go to decision. I have it going to decision the other way. I might play it a little bit just because I do have the underdog here, but it's a very, very tight fight. I think the plus 105 is actually right because Dawodu does have the power, and I see the finish happening for Dawodu more actually, but the decision I think is comfortably Arce.
This is going to be a close, or not so close on DraftKings, with Duwadu being 8,600 against Arce 7,600.
That, I think, is okay for Arce.
The play is on Arce there. Maybe I go 10-10, just because you get value on Arce, but as you're saying, the finish potential, I think, is more on Duwadu's side, so he could be a high scorer in there. Maybe I do want a little bit of exposure here, but these are such fire cards. I'm gonna have to make a lot of cards in general.
It's been a really long time. I don't even know how many episodes since I actually made my picks early and I did a little research. But this fight card's so good. Once I started scrolling through it, I was like, I know these guys. I want to watch that fight again. And the other thing with Duwadu that I have to say, you guys, you know how I feel about Bochniak, and that is all I have to say about that. Arce.
Great point. Absolutely great point in there. I might switch. We got to watch weigh-ins. It's going to be eventful.
Everything
especially
will
as
matter.
we move on. Everything is going to matter in there. That's definitely going to be a fun one. Moving on to 170 pounds, we have Lyman Good coming in against Chance Rencounter. Rencounter with a 14-3 record coming off of a 2-fight winning streak, shutting down my boy Nardiev. You know, I was hypnotized. I wasn't seeing the deficiencies in his game. You tried to tell me. You tried to say Rencounter is a sneaky grappler in there. He'll freaking turn it into his type of fight and definitely wear you out. And that's exactly his game plan. He's somebody who has a negative strikeout.
But coming back to Nardiev, now seeing him in his fights, to me, gosh damn, Rencounter, that's how good he is. Because it made me doubt Nardiev on his next fight because I didn't have enough respect for Rencounter even after that win. And then after watching Nardiev in his last fight, I'm like, damn, Nardiev's a beast. So Rencounter just like packaged him up and mailed him home to mom.
Dark horse in the division for sure. So many people I was thinking
Isn't
we're
that
going to
his
slip
nickname?
on. It is the Black Crow or something.
Oh, Dark Horse, Black Crow.
It is the Black Eagle.
Black Eagle.
Black Eagle for Rencounter.
Yeah.
But he's definitely representing the reservation in there, being a native fighter, fighting out of Alliance. Again, he likes to get to the ground. As I was saying, he has a negative strike differential where he actually gets hit more than he strikes. But that's because he likes to get it to the ground. He has 7, 8, 9 takedowns averaged per round. He's definitely trying to get it to the ground. But once he gets there, he has a really solid game plan where he sticks to you and just doesn't let you get up and get points. Rencounter really sneakily has a grappling, aggressive style that plays into Lyman Good's biggest deficiencies. He is going to be the New York native, so if we have bad judging here, this could be one of the dirty ones that can go the other way. But with Good, the reason we picked Maya over him is because his takedown defense. He gets taken down in every fight and multiple times, and then at times he can't even get up. He is a Tiger Schulman disciple, has good striking. A lot of people have been posting that, Ezekiel Zaleski fight where he came in and was like, I don't want to get knocked out. And Schulman's like, you get knocked out, Good. Get in there, get knocked out. It went to decision, but just the coaching aspect that they have of just trying to get him to go for broke. But also proving that Good has a limit, and regardless of what a coach tells him, he's going to be like, nah, dude, I'm just going to sit back and just cruise on out a loss. So I think that this gets to the ground more often than not. Good has watching back that Nardiev fight, Rencounter ate some knees and kicks to the face there that I think would have knocked out many other people. So I think that big old pumpkin head can eat a lot more, and especially what Good can dish out. So I think it's a decision, 2 to 3 rounds, 30-27 type of decision for Rencounter. I think I got to go 10% for Good here because he does have the likely knockout potential out of two because he's more of the striker. But I think I'm going to go 30% on Ren counter. He has to get a submission. Maybe I'm not even that high on Ren counter because I think it's a decision. I have Ren counter decision. So who do you have right now? I'm mixed up still.
I only think the only way Ren counter can win is by submission. I think once he gets somebody to the ground, it's going to be finished. If he can finish a guy with as good a hips as Nardiev, he can easily finish Lyman Good. It was kind of easy victory for Damian Maia. And I think Chance is heading in all the right directions. Hasn't he changed his camps? He wasn't always at Alliance, was he?
I think he's been there for a while now.
But I really like everything he's showing. Each one of his fights is getting better. Lyman Good has the bigger name here. I think he's still going to walk into this fight a favorite. I think Chance is a good person to parlay it up with. Like, sneak him into your parlays. I don't really see him getting finished, and I think even if he goes to the ground, Lyman Good does have such quit. He's definitely going to follow him down there, and that's where he's going to get wrapped up. Lyman Good just wants to finish. He wants to get out of there. So even if it goes into those late rounds, I'm giving him a little respect that he's going to keep him at distance in the first round and do everything he can because of the Damian Maia fight. But I think very quickly he just loses his head in there, no pun intended. He kind of loses that ring IQ a little bit as the fight goes on, and I think Chance will wrap it up. But Nardiev's a better fighter than Lyman Good. That's why I think a finish is coming here.
I like what you're saying here. On DraftKings, you're going to end up paying for the minus 135 favorite, Lyman Good, 8,400 against Chance Ren counter, 7,800. As I'm saying, I think it's going to be hard because the average 56 points for Ren counter even in wins is definitely tough to pay off even at a 7-8. But as far as DK lines...
How many fights has he had in the UFC? 3?
3.
Yeah, so I feel because that loss in between, I think he got knocked out pretty quick. He probably had like 0.5 points in that. So that becomes the average of 3. It'll really drop yours down.
It was a lost decision to Muhammad, and it was only 8 points. But then in his Stewart fight, he got 106 points. And then in his last Nardiev fight, he got 54. So right in that range of 56. But with that Nardiev, I would have thought it would have been in that 80-point range when I remember looking back at it.
Depressing.
So it is depressing.
But
and that's
cheap.
because
he's cheap.
It's Ren counter doesn't throw strikes when he's on the ground. He just is looking for those submissions. So he can definitely get it in there. I'm going to have exposure to both of these guys.
I am staying away from Good. I kind of am over. I
10%
don't
Good.
like where he's headed. I don't like where he's headed. I feel like his trajectory has totally changed directions for me.
I think you're spot on there. And actually on a lot of bettors I've seen, a lot of people coming through actually with Ren counter on the Twitterverse. I've seen a lot of people coming in with exactly what we're saying. Stylistically, this is just a tough matchup for Good.
Yeah, agreed.
Moving on to 125 pounds, we have Caitlin Chukagian coming in against Jennifer Maia. Maia being 17-5-1. She's coming off of a 2-fight winning streak, losing only one in the UFC to Liz Carmouche, then running off 2 against Alexis Davis and Roxanne Modafferi. Decision 3 months ago in there. We know what Maia likes to do in there. She likes to keep it standing and just land the more volume. But in that more volume, it's really not that much. I think only 70 strikes is the most she's ever landed. So as far as DraftKings, that's pretty low. She doesn't like to get it to the ground, and for her, doesn't have to worry about it. Caitlin Chukagian, I don't think, has ever shot a takedown in her 6 to 7 UFC fights. Chukagian is a decision machine in there. She gets in there and kias you to death. We've said it from day one. She has a lot of volume, but it doesn't land. I think Chukagian's most landed strikes ever were over 100, maybe 102, but most average, she's landed in that 60 range as well as far as significant strikes. So this is going to be a striker's delight. It's going to be both ladies ending it off, but I think the crowd is going to be in by far for the New Jersey native. So even if the strikes aren't landing, but you hear ha 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 ha, and those kicks, this just goes dirty split, which usually happens to Chukagian. This is a big fat stay away from me everywhere. I don't like the betting lines on this. I don't like the DK lines. I think there's a low score. I think you just have so many other options throughout the night that it's not even worth going too heavy into. It's going to be a volume type of decision for either fighter. Give me Chukagian as the slight favorite. Who do you have and why?
Maya's always overlooked, and Chukagian's always overhyped. I have Chukagian too, decision, but I agree with you. I really could not agree with you more. For such a meaty fucking pay-per-view, we couldn't get a better lady fight.
Totally agreed in that.
There is so many other things. I would rather see Antonina on here. I'd rather see Roxanne Modafferi. There is other 125 women that I feel like they could push that would be more ideal than this fight to me. So it just kind of irritates me. Chukagian decision, bah humbug. It ain't Christmas. It's Halloween Eve. I should have put some decorations on these frames, like spider webs.
I like them. It profiles them. Maya's looking all sorts of good in there. Her hair's looking long.
That's her good angle.
Maya is, though, 5'4" to the 5'9" Chukagian. So a big size difference in there.
And I just think it's going to be a point fight, like you're saying. Yeah. I feel like it's almost like Chukagian is the lesser Shevchenko. It's like she has that same fighting
She's
style
that cousin.
almost, but it's just not nearly the snap. She ain't hitting trees.
For sure in there. At minus 155, Chukagian's going to end up costing you on DraftKings $8,900 against Jennifer Maya's plus 125, 7,300. That is right. That is a big old whiff. And it's going to be a big stinker in there.
That was a queef. Because it's a lady fight. My brother would go,
the truth. That one
and
is
he would jump across the house and he'd be like, look, I'm going to queef.
If you got to do some chores, if you got to get a snack in between the fight night.
If you got to go out to the grill and drink a beer and do something on the grill to make it look like you're participating, this ain't that fight.
If you have to go upstairs and get a $30 beer.
If you got to go take a dump ski.
This is the time. But one that's going to be much more exciting at 265 pounds. We're going to move on to Andrei Arlovski versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Rozenstruik coming in with tons of hype, being a perfect 8-0, finishing.
I feel like I always say his name like this. Rozenstruik! And you know what I wish I would have done? Spiderwebs on the frames, turned him green, and put things like he was Frankenstein.
For Arlovski?
For
Rozenstruik?
Or both of them. One of them, I'd make Arlovski a vampire and put teeth and blood, and then Rozenstruik, I'd make him... Yeah, maybe that's what I'll spend time doing for the
holidays. So Rozenstruik being a striker in there, getting mainly knockouts over some UFC competition over Albini as of late, also knocking out Alan Crowder with a jab, following it up with ground and pound, getting the second fastest knockout at heavyweight in 9 seconds over Crowder. So quick jab, he likes to throw it in, bro. Andrei Arlovski has that exact type of energy in there where he'll hit you with a jab in a heartbeat. The 28-18 fighter, Pitbull Arlovski, has been a longtime veteran, finally coming off of a win as of late to Ben Rothwell in a decision, being in 9 decisions in a row. We all thought his chin was absolutely gone. He's been able to change his game plan enough in there to now stick to a outside striking defense, much more defense-oriented fight. He'll still sneak that really good straight right down the middle on you, but his striking defense has just been much more apparent in these last fights. He'll also grind you up against the cage and just use some of that veteranship to wear you out a bit. And against Rozenstruik, we haven't seen him enough in there, even on his regional scenes. He has power. Tons and tons of power, with even shots that don't look like they hit so hard. Biggie Boy in there definitely has much lower competition, and the veteran, if he can drag this past the first round, he has a real shot here. I was going back and forth on this. I had Andrei Arlovski earlier on in the week, thinking that he's able to just completely win the striking exchanges, but the level of athlete I see Rozenstruik being, that he can make up the deficiencies where he'll even eat a shot to give a shot. And I know we haven't seen it as of late happen for Arlovski, but the power we've seen from Rozenstruik has been so apparent that I gotta say, even with a half-ass shot, he puts Arlovski down. Give me a TKO round number 1. I'm fading Arlovski more than anything, and it's that chin. But the better all-around fighter that we've seen more of is Andrei Arlovski here. So I'm going to be tentative on this one, but I do think I got to have a lot of exposure because I do see a knockout in here.
Oh, wow.
Give me Rozenstruik right now. TKO round number 1. Who are you having? in this one?
I think Rosenstruck hasn't beat names enough to be in there. Like, pretty much everyone he's beat is trash can. Everybody's a can. And they're building him up to me. A guy like Andrei Arlovsky is going to hang on your arms, wear you down, and take you into deep water. And he has the experience and veteranship to do just that to a guy like this. And that's kind of what I think is happening. You want an underdog. I feel like I have all underdogs.
You have all underdogs right now.
But I have Andrei Arlovsky. I think the veteranship's going to pay off. He has some of the best ring IQ in there. And I was hating on Arlovsky, and one of the people that was saying that he should step aside and, maybe I don't want him to do this anymore. But frankly, all those fights have been close, and he's making it to the end of all of them. He's taking anyone that fights him and kind of making the fight look boring and dull. And I just don't think Rosenstruck has ever been in there with somebody with the talent and skill level of Andrei Arlovsky. This is a huge step up. A huge step up, and it's a lack of respect that Arlovsky, maybe even, but you see a finish. I think a lot of people are on that kind of hype train, but I'm going with Andrei Arlovsky. Decision.
You are not crazy there at all. The value here is by far on Arlovsky, and he does have the tools in his toolbox to be able to show a valuable game plan here that could pull it off. On DraftKings, though, you're going to end up paying for the minus 155 favorite Rosenstruck, 8,700 against Pitbull Andrei Arlovsky, 7,500 plus 125 for the Pitbull. I absolutely love this fight. It's going to be so much fun. So, on DraftKings, I'm going to probably end up going 30% Rosenstruck and 10% Arlovsky, because if he does win, I do feel like Arlovsky could have a good score in there with his volume. Who do you have, or who are you going to put on DraftKings, or how much are you going to put on Arlovsky that you're picking him?
I can't put him too much. It's still a prelim fight. I tend to go heavier toward the main events, but another cheap fight. I can put anyone anywhere I want because I already have enough underdogs, and I may have more to come. I can't believe I have Andrei Arlovsky.
That's a bit scary. That's a bit scary. I feel like that's the surgery.
It's so different
Mr.
of
Green.
how I would normal pick. Like, I'm all about the...
Sergi, you picked Sergi this last Singapore card, and I went the other way with Green, and I feel like this kind of mimics that potentially, but much more experience for Arlovsky, so that's why it's not unreasonable.
And who is Rosenstruck? Who is
Very
he?
good point. Who's Crowder or Albini for that fact? Albini, the baby who shit his diaper multiple times in there. Albini. So remember that. Just remember that. Moving on to 185
My
pounds.
boyfriend.
We have Brad Tavares coming in against Edmund Shabazian with all that head movement. The golden boy coming in from the Tavares and Glendale fighting scene, being a perfect 10-0. He's
my Nardiev.
Shabazian is?
Yeah, I feel like they came out at like the same time, and I've rode Shabazian the whole time, and you've loved Nardiev. Not that we haven't liked both of those other guys in fights, but I've been a diehard for Shabazian. I just think he's great.
He definitely is with a
21. What?
21 with a great gas tank. His strikes he is growing fight by fight, but what it's really proven so far with the young man Shabazian is his gas tank. He's been able to put it on him. He averages 20 takedowns a fight.
That's crazy.
That's absolutely nuts. Or 20 takedown attempts at least. I believe he averages 7 takedowns on average. So he could gain more or less. But still, he has that type of pace. Gets in your face, gets right to the legs, will push you up on the cage. Is always transitioning. Once he's on the ground, passes heavily. Always keeps on you with strikes. And has just got a lot of positives in his game plan. Moving forward, he's just somebody that a lot of people have been high on, and for good reason. He's shown a good chin. He has fought some iffy competition, though, with Jack Marshman's submission. A lot of people saw that coming, but he did beat Charles Byrd, who had a little bit of a hype with a TKO on the ground, and Darren Stewart, who just beat Darren Wynn. And I've been high on Stewart, so I had Stewart in that fight as well, but that's where Shabazian turned me, and I'm like, all right, this kid's legit. He's for reals. So Shabazian, definitely someone to look out for. And against the longtime veteran, Brad Tavares, my boyfriend. He's on my hot boys list. I've been on Brad Tavares for too long.
It's not about hot. It's just like a hype, like there's something.
Oh no, mine's hot. Oh no, mine's.
Yeah,
He
yours
was
is
on my...
different. You're like, he's on my hot boy list. Yeah, that other one was not my hot boy list. I just put together a quick card. That is not who I would make my boy band out of if I made the hottest guy.
He's on my boy band. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
he could sing me to sleep, baby. So Brad Tavares.
What song would he sing?
I would probably be an Elvis song. Huh. Yeah, I don't know why. That's just what I see.
I feel like he looks like he'd sing Creed.
With arms wide
Can
open.
you take me higher? Can you imagine? I don't see that at all for Brad Tavares.
I agree.
That'd be the worst.
It would probably be a Jack Johnson song is what more he'd be singing.
I know.
One of those
that,
surfer
like,
ones.
This one's for Abby. Ooh.
100%. 100%. And that's maybe where he's been over the rainbow. Brad Tavares might have plateaued and be on the backside of that gorgeous arc. 17-5. He comes in as well-rounded. Serviceable on the ground, even though that tends to be his biggest deficiency is once it does get there, he can have trouble being submitted, but those early submissions early in his career haven't really showed up in the UFC. He has some marquee wins long in his career now been fighting. He has wins over Thuradoa, who else in there? Lates, as of late, Jutko. Coming off of a loss decision to Israel Adesanya, where I had Tavares eventually being able to get him down. That didn't work out. But the rumors in the back was Tavares, even though he had an injury, was still weighing in with his knee completely shot. He let us know after the fight. So that's something you always got to take into consideration now.
Hashtag dick move.
Exactly. We have another
make
fighter.
his money. I'm not judging.
Well, but it's also one of those things that's just like, nah, man, like get healthy because then you get a loss and it doesn't benefit you over. You lose more money in the long run taking a loss. But in that loss, he put in a good showing against Adesanya. I mean, the champ couldn't go more than 2 rounds with Adesanya. Brad Tavares lasted with a broken arm.
I don't know if you lose more money taking a loss.
Oh, good point. Good point. I guess this main event proves that, right? So
yeah, he's up there. He's fought some of the best.
Some of the best, but even in his last fight with Adesanya, Brad Tavares showed his toughness without a knee going into the fight. He broke his forearm in the middle of that fight and kept fighting. Didn't even know it. Interesting research I did. His forearm was broken for 3 months and he was training on it after a month. He went back into the doctor and said, my arm still kind of hurts. They x-rayed the opposite side, which they hadn't the day of the fight. Shattered forearm. So he had to go into surgery that was going to take an hour. Took 6 hours because his bones had never even begun to fuse. So that's something that I think affects his mindset. Going in there and being able to swing it. That's why he's been out for a year and a half. He's not going to go in and not give a showing. But at 31 years old, as long as he's been around, I feel like his fight years of starting to catch up on him.
I'm going to say something controversial that might get some hate.
Let's hear it.
Do you think he's Robert Whittaker?
He's had battles
where it's
in
like
there.
He's still young. He has such a great skill set still, but because of the battles, something's off.
He's right. His best fights are already past him, potentially, especially up against such a young up-and-comer with a good gas tank, where Tavares can also fade a bit in the 3rd round. Give me Shabazian decision right here. The only reason I don't give it a finish is because Brad Tavares is tough as nails, and you have to put him to sleep to get him out in there, where Shabazian is going to have an advantage. Once he gets it there, Tavares can get stuck on his back a bit. I got a decision here. Oof, this is a fun fight. This is such a fun fight on such a fun fight card. I mean, this could be a fight of the night for me as well. Give me Shabazian.
I totally agree. This is the one I've gone back and forth on. I'm trying not to be emotional about my picks lately. I have Tavares by decision right now because he's lost to Israel Adesanya in the last X amount of time of the fights you can judge that make him who he is right now as a fighter. Not that all the fights don't, but you can't really judge the dude from 4 years ago. That's ridiculous. So if you look at his last fights and only losing to Israel, and I like Jutko, I think is a guy that's a little underrated and is pretty well-rounded and dangerous. Latis is, super well-rounded. I think he keeps going against all these well-rounded guys, and Elias to beat Elias in decision, who barely lets you touch him. He stays on the outside. We all remember how Elias Theradoa fought. So Tavares is a guy that tends to lose to that karate or Muay Thai style of fighters. Shabazian isn't necessarily that. He kind of has a different style, and I don't know. I'm wondering if Brad Tavares can keep... If he can use his wrestling in reverse to not get taken down. I almost think Shabazian still wins on the feet. I could go back on this. I really like Edmund, but I feel like it's an emotional play because I don't know if I've ever picked against Shabazian. Not that there's been so many fights, but I've just been on his train because I love his coach. No, I'm just kidding. So I'm going back and forth. Right now I have Tavares, and I'm trusting his veteranship and trusting the amount of time he took off. I do think you're going to have to kill him in there. He has a killer chin, and I'm interested to see him, what he's bringing together. To me, he should be in the prime of himself right now. Right at 32 is a sweet spot. 21, that's what makes Shabazian so dangerous to me, is how great he looks in there at 21. And I think Wynn's kind of overrated. Not that I didn't like that fight, but it was kind of boring. And so Shabazian hasn't had a win like Brad Tavares yet to me. But he could be an Israel Adesanya. Like, he could be kind of the same deal where it's this new breed that's coming up their pike.
They
or
trained
it's just
MMA their whole career.
Yeah, so, gosh. And how big this kid is. I always think when we're about to break down this fight, like he's a 155er. And then I'm like, God damn, these are big boys.
Do you think, I know I'm pushing a lot of outside narratives for Tavares with his arm injury, but do you think it affects him that his head coach at Extreme Couture just had a heart attack? Not living in there, but still technically related to them.
Is he dead?
He did not. He got a stent put in and walked out of the hospital the next day against doctor's orders.
I don't think it affects him at all. If anything, it hypes the whole...
Yeah, because he's like, look at that son of a bitch.
Yeah.
So,
but that's like... That seems like Brad Tavares, Extreme Couture.
Very true.
Or Randy, don't even care about it. Didn't he tried to use a roller ball at the gym to roll out his heart attack.
Yeah, and then he walked to the hospital.
We should have talked about this, actually. Randy
with
Couture had
perfect
a heart
time.
attack.
Had a heart attack, walked to the hospital, got a stent put in, had surgery, and then a day after, they were like, I guess you can go home. He's like, I'm walking, and it was a couple blocks away. So, still, unbelievable. Hope he did get better soon there in there, Randy Couture. On DraftKings, you're going to end up paying $8,300 for the minus 115 favorite, Shabazian, against Brad Tavares, 7,900 minus 115.
I have another underdog.
I mean, is it an underdog minus 115, minus 115? This is the epitome of a coin flip. But
on DraftKings it is. So,
good point.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to actually go...
I think the line's going to change, and I think Shabazian's going to get hotter. So right now is the cheapest you're going to get
Going to get Tavares if you get him.
No, I think Shabazian. I think Tavares will fall
becomes
off.
A favorite?
No.
Oh, okay.
Shabazian's going to be the favorite.
Right.
But right now I got 115 even. So I think Shabazian's just going to get more and more favorited, and Tavares is going to fall off.
Correct. I'm actually going to go in that 30% range on Shabazian because out of the finishes, out of the two, I have Shabazian finishing, but I do see the decision, essentially, as you're saying.
Yeah.
On
so
Tavares,
we both have a decision.
light.
That could be a dirty split. The dirty split. It's New York. Weird shit could go down.
100%. At 145 pounds, we have another profile matchup. Mr. Finland coming in. Makwan Amirkhan against Shane Burgos. Both of these prospects have had tons of hype. This 15-3. Amirkhan's coming off of multiple wins in the UFC, only losing to Aaron Arnold Almighty in there. As of late, beating Jason Knight in a split decision and also beating Chris Fishgold Darce-choke 4 months ago. But Mr. Finland comes in with those wrestling credentials. He has finished fighters with some flying knees and punches, but it's really a reckless type of striking style for Amirkhan in there. He definitely is a wild man and relies on his wrestling to bail him out of situations. He likes to get in scrambles, but has shown that later in rounds, his gas tank, he really lays on those first 2 rounds, winning those, and can give up the 3rd round. And against Burgos, it's going to be a uphill battle. He is not going to get that same takedown defense, and striking-wise, Amirkhan is not even close to the level of striker that Burgos is. Burgos coming in with a 12-1 record, only losing to Calvin Kattar in there via knockout in a amazing fight. Both of those guys were striking in the pocket, but that was as elite striking as it gets in there. As of late, defeating Cub Swanson in a split decision, and then beating also... Who was it in there? Kurt Hollabaugh via submission armbar, where he was hurt a little bit. Burgos, his chin, he can get rocked in fights, but even off of that Hollabaugh knockdown. He's got that submission. It's just a takedown defense for Burgos. It's close to 100. If not, it's like that 98%. And striking-wise, the advantages for Burgos with the power are just so much more here. I think the greater puncher usually wins. And here, with the takedown defense, I mean, it's leaps and bounds the biggest favorite of the entire night. And I'm really surprised.
Whoa.
Because I see, right? I would have thought it was much closer than this, but a lot of people are seeing it. I feel like what I'm seeing, and it's Amir Khan, if he can't get it to the ground, he's kind of just waiting to get sniped off in there by a power puncher. Give me Burgos, TKO round number 3. I think it's a accumulation. I had a decision earlier, but with that fading in the 3rd round for Amir Khan, that's when I think Burgos still does a lot of damage. So give me Shane Burgos. Who do you have in this fight and why?
I, too, am going Burgos decision. I'm surprised it's such a favorite, but Americani just hasn't really showed up for me. I know he's won his last 2 fights, and I do like Chris Fishgold way more than I like Jason Knight's potentials, but they're kind of like of the same level to me where it's just not quite UFC. I think he's a guy more kept around for his country than, not that he's not talented, but it's just like, here, we have a dude from Finland. I like Amir Khan, but I think Shane Burgos is just doing everything right now. He's just put it all together, and I, too, think it will go to decision.
I got to finish in that round 3 for me, so it's going to be one that I'm going to be playing a good amount, but I think a lot of people will. He is the most expensive fighter of the entire night on DraftKings, minus 250 favorite. Shane Burgos, 9,300.
It might be my only favorite I've picked yet.
Think it might be against Makwan American 6,900. So we're both staying away from Makwan here, right? Pretty much the only play is Burgos.
I think so. I mean, I think a flash submission could happen on a takedown from Shane Burgos. I think Americana could definitely snatch that neck. But that is the only thing I see happening for him.
Totally agreed. I just don't think Amir Khan can get into those positions he needs to. So I'm going to probably go in that 30% because it's so steep. 20% for Burgos. Amir Khan, 0. I could hedge my bets a little bit there. But this fight, this entire card, I feel like these lines have all been razor thin, have they not? They've all been...
yeah, everything's tighter. This is too far.
This one's too far, and I think it's...
Well, you have a finish, though. Every time I want to bitch about the line, you have a finish.
Oh, and good point.
Yeah.
Very good point. So... that's going to be a fun one.
I got that D. Not diarrhea. I actually have a decision.
Then we go to the preliminary headlining card of the night on ESPN Plus. Before you have to shell out those 65 to 70 bones, you're going to get the profile Johnny Walker coming in against Corey Anderson. This has all sorts of title implications at 205 pounds. The 17-3 Johnny Walker has only been defeated by himself in there, doing the worm in his post-fight celebration. Got him out of there for 7 months of recovery from the worm.
Dummy.
Unbelievable. But he seems like that kind of goofy personality. If you've been seeing him on the embeddeds and everything, he's a dancer, he's a stripper, he's out there to be a goofball. I mean, he travels all over the world. A really interesting narrative that I see with Johnny Walker is that he changes camp every year, essentially. He's been in Russia, Moscow for the last training camp.
Oh, I love a Shevchenko type fighter.
So I think it's through American Top Team he's out there.
Traveled.
He flew into Florida, I believe into New York on Monday. So he's only been there for a little bit of time. Definitely fun episodes to catch him on, but wild man in there. We've got very limited footage in the cage in there because he is every bit of 6'5" in there, knocking out Khalil Roundtree, knocking out Shirkinov, Ledet in there. I mean, going through them like butter, getting him with the knee, an elbow on the inside. We don't know what happens in the later rounds because on the regional scenes, the guys that have gotten him there, which hasn't been many, we've seen a big decline in a lot of that kind of Michel Pereira where he's a flash in the pan. If you can get out of that first round, that's hard. All of a sudden, you have a lot of life left, or you have your potential to win the fight grows exponentially because those powerful moves with that big frame do slow down a lot. But still, the clinch for Walker is so strong. His inside elbows and just his movement inside, what he did to Roundtree in that close range, I just think that if he's throwing those type of shots, doesn't matter what type of fighter in the UFC.
Is it a tight clinch behind the neck that he has?
It is a tight clinch, but he is
and
really good at it.
He throws people into his knees.
Exactly.
Then he holds one and inside elbow. Nasty. He's really good at keeping control of the head with one hand and then brutalizing.
Exactly.
He almost makes a compound fracture out of what normally would be something that people could flow with. He takes away the flow.
He knows how to throw his body into that and has grown into it. But coming in against Corey Anderson, the 12-4, beast in 25-8, I mean, overtime, is in here getting his wrestling credentials, national wrestler. He's in there getting all sorts of records with takedowns. I think being in that like 53 range of all-time records. He's in there just putting a wrestling clinic on people. And the biggest fault for Corey Anderson is his chin. Jimmy Manuwa and OSP both got him out of there with knockouts, and it was because Anderson started to gas in that third round and gave OSP a little bit of a window. OSP landed that left, and it was night-night in a fight that he was running away with. Literally, Anderson was turned and started to run because he's like, I got this fight, and OSP lunged and caught him there. But Anderson has to be careful on every type of engagement because he does have to get it to the ground here. Once it's to the ground, I think Anderson wins that round. But they always have to start in neutral. And specifically, I feel like Walker, in my head, this is just one of the times where the simulations keeps going to Corey Anderson gets maybe a takedown in the first round, maybe not, but is pushed up against the fence. And Walker is so responsive with those elbows that he's defending split leg against the fence, and he lands some of those inside elbows. I got to finish TKO round number 1 for Walker, and it's just because of the chin of Anderson. But if this goes after the first, and you can live bet this, Corey Anderson is not a crazy pick here.
Is Corey Anderson on his last fight on his contract?
He is not. He's on a 3-fight winning streak right now.
I don't care. I just mean in general with the UFC. Is this the last fight on his contract? Is this a setup fight? Is he from New York? What is the reason for this, Corey Anderson? Is it the right stepping stone? It kind of is.
It is because it's
the lowest. He's high level, but of the top guys, he's the lowest level ground guy that you kind of have to see Johnny Walker get through so you can watch him like. If you want to see him against John Jones, you got to put him against somebody who has some sort of decent ground credentials, and that is Corey Anderson. You are right, it isn't crazy because he is a way of, he will make your favorite, most exciting fighter boring. He will make it a boring fight and draw it out to a decision. If it goes to a decision, I could see this being a draw because I do see a knockdown for Johnny Walker. I see more so Anderson going in for a lazy single leg or double leg in the second and getting brutally kneed. I don't think it's going to be a clean knockout, though. I think it's going to be a TKO. Herb Dean's going to be in there. People might say it's an early call, or he's going to fight it's an early call, and then he's going to stand up, and Corey Anderson's going to be like, whoa, whoa. Johnny Walker, please do not do the worm again. I do want to see you in the direction of John Jones, not for your next fight after Corey Anderson. I think Reyes is a better pick for that, but I want to see how your shoulder is, buddy, because I'm thinking if I'm going to fight you, I'm going to try to torque that a little bit.
Great point.
So, Walker KO round 2. Oh, I don't want to say it so early because it just seems too easy. It seems too easy to pick Walker.
I agree. It's just the fact that when I've seen Corey Anderson go out, he's gone stiff as a board. He's gone all Ben Askren on me.
Yeah, maybe he will. I could see this being a linchpin for me.
I could see that as well potentially, but I got to think a lot of people are because he is going to be the slight favorite at minus 165, 9,000 even on DraftKings for Johnny Walker against Corey Anderson, 7,200 in there. Again, I'm going to probably go 40%. This is going to probably be one of the super guys.
You again, prelim fight.
Headlining prelim,
but
specifically.
Nonetheless, Jesus.
Agreed. Fight of the year potential or highlight of the year potential.
Highlight
of the year potential in here.
And because the sad part is if Johnny Walker gets put to sleep or loses the fight, people will be like, he was a hype train, blah, blah, blah. But people will not remember Corey Anderson beat him. They'll just be like, oh, he beat that hype train, Johnny Walker.
Great point.
Poor Corey Anderson.
100% spot on with that call as well. If you're not liking and subscribing, you can always find me, Emmanuel. You can call me as whatever you want, as long as it's not late for dinner. Definitely at Zoltanite. You can always find Cheney at Weeknet Baby. Us at latb_MMA on that Instagram, Twitter, all that good stuff.
And check out the YouTube. And make sure you're reminding your friends to like and subscribe because we have changed. We've had a whole bunch of stream issues. We've had sound issues. We've had issues. We know. We've had issues. We're like a newsstand. Do you kids know what a newsstand is? It's a place that there used to be these paper things after we killed trees. We put up their corpses and admired it.
So definitely thanks to the YouTube followers out there. We've been growing exponentially on there and we appreciate it all.
And I have to say to Juice, I've been singing for 300 episodes. Come around here.
Very good point. Very good point.
But we haven't done 300 episodes.
No, we're getting there.
If you check back to random apps that we will not mention, you might be able to find 300.
Very, very true in there. But it is a perfect point to kick off the Fight Picks Championships. This is for all the beans.
Nerve-wracking.
This is where it matters. This is where we're going to make the money. Show all of you that we are the best pickers in the championship league. Naysayers will be dealt with accordingly. So the pay-per-view goes down 2-4-4 for the baddest mother effer in the game.
And I'm going to have the logo of the Fight Pick Championship next time. Why isn't that up when we're talking about it?
Definitely.
Why isn't it up? Why isn't it Lat B with the Fight Pick Championship? Or a picture of the graph?
Unofficial crown belt? We should have.
I don't jinx it.
Oh, good point, good point.
But I will start putting up the final numbers and stuff so we can talk about it during the show. So if you're a YouTube person, coming soon.
Definitely. Always evolving at Lab B. This pay-per-view, though, kicks off with, dare I say, another fight of the year potential in here with Kevin Lee moving back down to 155 pounds against Gregor Gillespie, another prospect. Another guy that we've been ultra hyped on coming in. The gift to perfect 13-0. He has beat Yancy Medeiros TKO. He's also beat Vince
Is it racist
Pichel.
that he reminds me of Volkanovski?
I know he does. He has that about him. His
Everything about him, even kind of somewhat of his style. Like, I don't know.
Right,
Weird.
the pressure, the pace for Gillespie, the wrestling, absolutely national wrestler rank.
Isn't that kind of how Volkanovski is too?
Definitely.
Just mad wrestling? Huh. They
Definitely.
might, I'm saying same person. I'm going to call him a champ if he wins. No, I'm just kidding.
So, Gillespie, that wrestling definitely comes through. He is a Long Island, New York guy. Gonna get a lot of pop on the pay-per-view. People are gonna go nuts in here for this guy. Shows a great gas tank in there. His striking is getting better, but he definitely likes to American Khabib you in there because he likes to use those wrestling credentials to get you where he wants you on the ground and then just land heavy shots from every which angle. And against Kevin Lee, that's going to be tough. He's had issues with making 155, which is why he moved up and thought he was going to do something. But Rafael Dos Anjos and who else in there? Al Iaquinta proved him wrong. Dos Santos showing that, hey, at 170, you're still not there. He's a 65 or in between, but it's not even about that with Kevin Lee. Kevin Lee comes in with mainly a wrestling game as well. His striking is all right, but it's always been his gas tank and his heart. He has gotten better to go more of 5 rounds, but when he gets in a wrestling type of a grind fight, he wears it worse than most people. And against Gillespie, that plays right in his game.
He goes right over to quit and he cuts himself a little slice.
100%. We've seen it. We've both seen it. Kevin Lee will give up on himself in there, where Gillespie has proven that he doesn't do that, and he just keeps on chugging away in there. Give me the world's best fisherman in here. Decision, just because I feel like Kevin Lee will try to prove myself and other people, because other people have told him that he has quit in there, so he might try to prove us wrong and go to decision, but I still think it's a one-sided fight decisively. There's no advantages I see for Kevin Lee here other than the direct striking, but Kevin Lee can get taken down and Gillespie will be able to get him down. Who do you have in it? Give me a decision for Gillespie. Who do you have and why?
I think I'm kind of letting them equalize each other on the wrestling, and if it's going to be just a hardcore grind, I think Gregor has the better hands, Kevin has the better kicks. I think Kevin's going to be a little stronger in the first round, but after that, slowly Gregor's going to catch up, and I do believe Gregor's gas tank is just going to outlast. His heart is just going to outlast. And I don't love for a guy that already has gas tank problems to be coming back down to 155. And to remind you, you guys know how I feel about Dos Anjos. I think he's a little over the Z Hill. So if you just lost to him and like losing to Tony, no skin off your back. Like, but now, no offense to Al, but look what just happened to Al. And we saw Kevin Lee get picked apart. Gregor has as good, if not better, hands than Al. As good. So I think he gets pieced apart on the feet. I think he's going to try to go in for the takedown. But I think Gregor Gillespie has just as good of a wrestling. I think that quit and Kevin Lee, he's going to give up his back or do something very Conor McGregor, Nate Diaz round 4 in their first fight. He does have that kind of quit where he isn't. And Gregor's not going to just sit there and try. He'll punch for points and then go for the neck. He's very smart with his submissions. So give me Gillespie. Submission round 3. Sorry, Kevin Lee. I think you were the OG Colby Covington. You were the guy that talked yourself into a spot too fast. And I think it might have messed up your UFC shit here.
So, an interesting thing in the background with Gillespie that I feel like we talked about when we used to have more of these recap shows.
Not to mention if it goes to decision, also local. Yeah, give me Gillespie.
Exactly
Even if
right.
it doesn't go how I say and it goes to decision like you say, give me Gillespie.
Gillespie here walks around at 170 pounds, and his coaches over at Long Island MMA actually make him weigh in at 155 pounds 2 weeks before.
That's schlick. Smart.
Is it smart?
Yeah.
Or does he plead himself too much because he walks around at 170? Or
I
more,
think if you get down and
180.
it becomes your normal weight for that time,
For
like
2
at
weeks,
170,
you can
you walk
rehydrate.
around and you eat kind of whatever you want and you exercise like a normal person. And then it's not even hydration for you. You really just go on a diet where you take your calories where, I don't know what these guys work out. Let's say they're allowed 7,000 calories a day. And you really just take them down to a normal human level of 2,500. And I think they would naturally drop the weight with how much they're burning going into training. That I just think he would be living like that. So if he could, then they could actually test the sample of how do you test a guy's cardio like TJ and Cub throwing around a ball. Now they cut this weight. You don't have them fight after they cut weight. You don't even have them train that day. You might do some very, very light sparring, but other than that, you don't want to even risk injury. So I just got to think it kind of normalizes, and then they also get to see how his cardio is at that weight.
It's interesting. I've never heard of anything like this. Even in the boxing realms, I've never really heard anything like this. So it could be a game changer as far as cutting weight.
You ain't been out to Long Island.
Apparently there must be something in the water. On DraftKings, you're going to end up paying for the minus 165 favorite, Gregor Gillespie, 9,100 against Kevin Lee, 7,100. Gillespie only on DraftKings, but I gotta feel a lot of people are gonna be playing him as well over 9,000. I still feel like he has high likelihood to be able to score over that with an average of 125 points.
Wow.
Average in 3 fights.
Yeah, and Kevin Lee's a whiny baby with excuse maker. Whiny baby excuse maker. After his fights, he's one of the worst people to watch. Like, I just made a mistake. I don't know. I don't want to put down 1,000 fighters for saying the same thing at this time, but there's something about Kevin Lee that's just, didn't a weird thing happen at his camp too? Didn't he have this whole weird, or his
He's
coach
at
died,
TriStar.
But his coach died.
His
And
coach
now
a while ago.
he's at TriStar with GSP.
Correct.
And
Correct.
so that is a really big
Deal, really? I don't know who's really gone to TriStar and looked better.
That's the point.
JoJo looked better after she left TriStar. So did a lot of other guys. The more and more I thought about that.
But JoJo back then, she might have not had the cred where she was even training in the same room as any of those guys.
She did. She did because she had gone after the Tough House after she had won a few fights. And then after she broke up with her husband, she moved down to Canada. And so TriStar, they haven't looked good other than GSP, really. Look at Rory. Where's Rory?
Well, that'll be my
McDonald.
excuse I make if Lee wins.
So definitely an exciting one we got on there. Going back up to 265 pounds, we have the sweatiest, hottest balls of them all coming in with Derek Lewis against Blagoy, your boy, Ivanov. Blagoy Baga comes in with an 18-2 record. He's been a money machine for me, honestly. I've been telling you guys against Tuivasa, against multiple other fighters, just like, hey, you ain't going to beat a Dos Santos, but you're going to be able to beat a Rothwell and a Tai in there when you're an underdog 4 months ago. But we've really seen Ty maybe not be as good as he once was. Ivanov coming in out of
I don't think
AKA
he ever was.
but
I just
people
think that
didn't
was
see
an
it.
emotional play. Should have learned back then.
Definitely.
I just liked all those guys.
Right. It was a heart play in there. So Ivanov usually tends to make grinding, dirty fights is why I like him. He pushes you up against the cage, dirty boxes you, wins you, makes it, as we were saying before earlier with Andrei Arlovsky, wears you down and makes the best guys look average and just turns fights into decisions, dirty split decisions. He is a boxer who uses his wrestling in reverse. When Blagoy shoots, he more just grabs for a high crotch to really start to pummel in to get that uppercut, or he doesn't even throw elbows. It's just a right hand in from in tight. But that's really his game plan. It's rinse and repeat. He doesn't do much else. His biggest win is living from that stab being in the bar fight where he got stabbed in the heart and was in a coma. But, I mean, Blagoy is just somebody who I feel like is this is him. He is a guy who's going to give... slow you down and give good output.
Do you think that's just the AKA blueprint?
Yeah, that's what they do.
All of them.
They just push you up against the fence.
And I feel like it's been figured out. We're starting to see more and more AKA guys lose.
And where Ivanov will, again, go for that leg or try that high crotch, that DC, but he more likes to just clinch in there. And DC's going to be in his corner. I mean, he's going to have these guys that
DC's going to be probably at the table, octagon side, giving him tips while we're watching the fucking pay-per-view.
Great point.
Motherfucker. Yeah, I just called DC a motherfucker. That is bullshit. Nothing pisses me off. I'm like, there is not many times that I'm like, right on, Dom Cruz. Right on. Because I think Dom Cruz is a little prick, but I like when he gets pissed about that.
Yeah,
don't do that shit.
Yeah, it should be illegal. He's not cornered.
We talk about it, but take the Paul Felder route. Step away from the table and let Michael Bisping step in during that time, please.
Great call on that. So he's coming in against Derek Lewis, who has been an overperformer in his UFC career. The 21-7 fighter is already retired and come back having all sorts of back issues. As I was saying with Tavares, Derek Lewis is one of these guys who'll be like, I couldn't walk for 3 months before this fight. I was able to walk yesterday when I got a shot in my leg or in my ass. And he's definitely someone that you just can't put tons of trust into. I had Volkanov in that fight, but I even said in the breakdown, he could be losing this fight and knock you out in the third round because that's what Derek Lewis does. He's a punching bag. Just to set up that right hand. He will get hurt to the body, which I think if any other heavyweights are watching, go to Derek Lewis's body and you will finish him. It's a big advantage that people don't exploit, where I think Ivanov can in here. I have had Ivanov all week long. I think that he can turn this into a dirty grind and make it a dirty split decision, but Derek Lewis just has that magic. He got that black magic, that black beast magic. And I think he's going to come through in the third round just like he did against Volkov. He's going to be down 2 rounds, but what I don't like about Ivanov is that to get into some of these clinches, he eats a shot because he trusts his chin, and I think that Derek Lewis just has too much power. I'm switching on air. Give me Lewis, TKO round number 3. I'm going to be tentative on this fight. This is super close. Who do you have?
Gosh, you know what? I have Ivanov right now, decision, and I have him for all those same reasons that you were just talking about. I think he has a cold, dead heart, so I think being under the lights of the MSG ain't shit for him, but Black Beast does have that magic. He does have that touch. That fire. There's something magical about the Black Beast that it puts on a brutal fight. Ivanov is a boxer, and I do think Derek Lewis also has that soft body. It hasn't looked great. I want to say 34. That's when a heavyweight's coming into his prime.
I think that's a great call.
Into it. Look, we're just talking about Andrei Arlovsky at 40, and I didn't say he should get on out of here. I picked him. So there's something about Derek Lewis that I want to even say at 34 years old that he's actually getting better. We're watching him improve every time in there, and the guys that he knocks out and the punishment that he takes is pretty brutal. Right now I have Ivanov decision. My key to whether or not I switch, and if you're following, you'll figure it all out because we always put out the bomb cards. Derek Lewis, I want to see his body. I want to see if his body looks even a little better than it did the last time he weighed in, because it has. If you look back, it's progressively looked better throughout all his fights. So if it looks even a little better, it lets me know that he's trained a little harder and he's trying to fix some sort of mistakes that were there. I do give him all the credit in the world of being that punching bag, so I do have Ivan off decision, just because Derek Lewis doesn't do anything. So if he doesn't come through with that spark, he never lands enough strikes. It's the one and done or none.
Ngannou. Remember that fight of the year?
Yeah.
That was some of the lowest strikes of all time. So
Yeah.
Derek Lewis does that in fights as well.
That's Derek Lewis's normal fight, and Ngannou usually finishes in the first
Great
minute.
point.
So I have Ivan off decision, but this could be definitely one I'd change. But Ivan off decision.
So
It's another underdog.
Blagoy,
it's his favorite.
No, Blagoy Ivanov minus 125 favorite against Derek Lewis's minus 105. I've seen also plus 105 out there for Derek Lewis being the slight underdog. This is my first underdog of the night. Give me Derek Lewis
Whoa.
here. On DraftKings, you're going to pay.
It's so crazy because we go to Tapology.com to do all of our picks, so you guys can too. And that's another place you can follow us. And we would love, I don't even know if we have to approve it. You can follow us and you can see all our picks and you can make us keep our money with our mouth is and pick with us as well. But it's weird because 67% of the community has Lewis knockout. So he's a heavy favorite on the community.
Interesting. On DraftKings, Ivanov.
And only hardcores are on Tapology. So all y'all Nancys out there, if your name's actually Nancy, don't get all upset and send me an email.
It's a compliment.
If you do, you can send me an email at Zoltanite.
On Twitter. But on DraftKings, you're going to pay for Ivanov 8,200 against Derek Lewis's 8,000 even. I think you could split this up because Derek Lewis, if he throws out no output and gets a knockout in the third round as far as DraftKings, that's only, 50 points? So he'll get, 60 points?
Derek Lewis will for sure be a favorite before this fight goes.
I agree. I think the fan favorite comes in for him.
It's just because he's a heavy fan favorite, so all the new bettors that don't know shit about shit are going to be like, Black Beast, my balls is hot. Black Beast, my balls is hot.
The casuals come in heavy.
They're like, I love this guy. They're getting their friends around a TV to come look at this guy.
Definitely going to be a close one, a fun one in there. I'm going to go 10-10.
Any chance of that fight maybe being your puesta?
No, I don't think so. Because I don't think it's even plus money right now, honestly.
Derek Lewis now?
I don't think it is. I think it's minus money right now. But weigh-ins are coming down. The lines are so close. I don't know. I might just put out some prop bets. I might. I actually, since it is just plus money, it doesn't mean we can't pick a prop as a plus money play. So I might throw that out there.
And for you hardcores, we might be bringing back, for hardcore fans of our show, that really know the what's what, that are old school. They're all Dr. Dre and Snoop, like they're godfathers of
the
Lat
Chronic
B.
2001.
They back to Lesbo and the Bean is what I'm saying. We're gonna bring back the Leslie Smith underdog pick. Leslie's back. We're going to bring back that. We had good luck with it. Great percentage. So anytime we agree, and that's not saying it couldn't also be on the puesta, and that's not saying it couldn't also have a crown, and that's not saying it is always going to be the actual underdog. We called it the underdog, but sometimes it would be somebody that like everybody else thought would, whatever. I don't have to explain anymore if you're hardcore. We'll talk about it more later. It might not happen this fight night, but I just wanted to fill you in. We always changing things around here. Don't get nervous.
Definitely.
Don't get nervous. We got you, boo-boo.
As long as it's plus money, we're making money. And that's for damn sure. Then we're going to move on to 170 pounds where we have Stephen Thompson coming in against Vicente Luque, where I can't even say another fight of the night potential in here, can I?
I agree.
Fight of the night. Like, fight of the year, card of the year.
If you put $1 on each one of them to be fight of the night, you're going to win.
Yeah.
You're going to win.
One of those is going to hit. So,
do you think, is this a stream or a pay-per-view?
You got to pay for this pay-per-view, right?
I think it's pretty incredible, and ESPN makes it tight. They keep that tight shit.
Definitely harder to find the streams out there, ESPN.
Then everyone jumps on at the end, so you have to run a clear stream up until this fight.
Exactly.
No, I think you might be safe through this fight. This isn't where a bunch of casuals jump on yet.
I think Stephen Thompson is a pretty good name. Interesting title contender in here at 170 pounds against Vicente Luque at 6'17", 6-1. We've been the biggest of fans of Vicente. He's been signing our shirts from day one. We've been backing him from day one. That nasty Darce choke, that output, that fight of the year contender with Brian Barberena as of late, getting 160 strikes before the third round knockout. Absolutely brawls in there. The gas tank has gotten better. Though the interesting thing as of late, he won a split decision over Mike Perry 2 months ago, where he could have finished Perry if it would have had another minute in that fight, rearranging Perry's face in there.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about what fight that was until you just said that.
Yeah, that nose was gone with that elbow in that third round. So Vincente's growing in his striking. He has...
It will be the fight. We'll never see Mike Perry come back from that.
Maybe not.
He'll be in fights, but the second his nose breaks, we'll all be like, oh, it's over.
Well, Andrei Arlovsky's been there, and he's come back.
Oh, true. He'll just not have a nose
He
anymore.
just will look
Dan
like
Hendo.
a different... Yes, exactly. So... Here, Vicente
Not
Luque,
a beautiful nose like Stephen Wonderboy Thompson.
Agreed. And he's kept the beautiful nose in there with a 14-4-1 record by being incredibly hard to hit in there. The karate stylist is coming in with a South Carolina, even though I know he has a Weidman camp. I know he trains out of Serra-Longo. If there's a guy who's a local favorite, it's Thompson out of the two.
For sure.
Guarantee that. So he's going to have the crowd in on him, but his striking style is very karate. He point strikes, stays on the outside. I mean,
that weird Israel Adesanya stance.
Exactly. T Wood couldn't take him down. He went to a decision and or a draw, and then he lost a decision to T Wood, and T Wood could not take him down in there. So then he came back.
Oh, he knocked him down a few times.
He did knock him down, but he did not officially take him down. That's the takedown defense of Stephen Thompson. It is very underrated for the division. People forget that. Then he came in and lost a decision to Till as of late, beat Masvidal in a decision that was fairly one-sided. One ref even giving it a 26-30 for Stephen Thompson. So very, very one-sided. And then as of late, getting knocked out, TKO Superman punch 7 months ago to Pettis, who moved up and hasn't looked necessarily good as of late. The 36-year-old is definitely on the back nine of his career, but it has been against high-level competition in here. I think stylistically, this is one of the worst matchups for Luque. My heart wants me to pick Luque, but Luque does not have good entries on his takedowns. He is training with Kamaru Usman, but in that Barberena fight and these last fights, Luque gets you down with strikes. He doesn't shoot on you. And striking-wise, the advantage goes to Thompson with his length, his angles, lateral movement. Absolutely love that stepping outside dart to the left hand, where I feel Luque actually opens up that shot a bit. Luque also gasses, even though with a high output, later into the third round, where I think Thompson grows as the fight goes on. With the strike defense, with the takedown defense, I don't think Luque can get it on the ground where he has the decided advantage.
Luque ain't 5'10". I'm just saying.
Very good. We met him, right? That's true.
I'm just saying.
True. Your boy over here, 5'8".
I felt like he was like our height.
He was, yes. We were even. We were eye to eye there, for sure. And Thompson looks long in there, too. When he's in there, 6 foot, he's like that 6'2", where he's like, yeah, tell them I'm 6 foot, because he doesn't want them to know he's 6'1". So I think the advantages stylistically really favor Thompson. That chin could be completely done. The line is actually flipped. Luque opened as the favorite, but the money is coming hard on Stephen Thompson, making him a decided favorite, minus 125. I got a decision, and it's styles make fights. Stylistically, I think this is just Luque can't get it to where he wants to. Give me a decision, Stephen Thompson, right now. My heart's telling me Luque, but my body is telling me Thompson.
I gotta see what my Thompson. I'm every other, and it is time to win. I'm gonna tell you guys this. Wonder Boy is over. If old fat Pettis is knocking him out, Luque is for sure gonna knock him out. Luque doesn't stay on the outside. If he'll leg kick you if he is gonna stay there, and he'll leg kick a leg out from under Thompson. Thompson has lost a step. His camp's lost a step. Ain't nothing good coming out of there lately, boys. Luque, everything coming out of the right camp, the right things going on. I think Luque hits 10 times harder than 11 times harder than Anthony Pettis. And I don't think it's a chin being gone of Wonderboy, but he's taken some strikes. And Luque is brutal. I also think Luque can get Wonderboy to the ground. I just don't think it's going to be from a takedown. I think it'll be a knockdown, but Luque's fast and well-rounded, and his last fight looked a little sketch, but Wonderboy hasn't looked good in forever. He hasn't looked good in forever. He was losing fights against old men already.
Oh, you could switch my mind here.
I got Luque all day, and I don't feel like it's an emotional pick at all. If anything, I'm not such a huge Thompson fan, and almost a Thompson hater, but Luque is just doing everything right, and we've even said if it wasn't Usman, Luque's one of those guys that you can see from way back in the distance that he's making his crawl up, and everybody's making their crawl through Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. So I think this is pretty easy for me. Luque, KO, round 3, accumulation. It'll just be ground and pound. I don't know if we'll see it. We might even see another knockout again. But Luque, KO, round 3. And even if it goes to decision, I'm okay. I think he's fine too. Even in New York. Oh, South Carolina is Thompson?
But he's the local guy because he has so many ties up in New York with Weidman. Sarah's going to be in the corner. People are going to cheer for Thompson out of the two against the Brazilian.
Yeah, Luque's an unknown compared to Thompson.
Correct here. On DraftKings, you're going to end up paying $8,500 for Stephen Thompson at minus 125 against Vicente Luque plus 105, minus 105 depending on the line you're looking at. 7,700. I like what you're saying with Luque. I'm going to wait for weigh-ins on this one. I can see myself changing because I have had Luque earlier on in the week and only till I start to think of the point fighting aspects. But be sure to stick around for that after weights weigh-in card because that is going to matter specifically for this card and for all of them moving forward.
And if anyone has problems making the weight here, it's surprisingly Luque. Like, for as tall as Thompson is, you'd think it'd be the other way around. But right. I think both guys professional. We're not going to have to worry about this fight. Definitely.
So I think I can play both guys here. I'm going to probably go 20%. I think either guy could finish. Either guy could get a decision. Oh, this is 10.
Thompson for me, I will not be fooled twice, Thompson. And I just look at your record and it reminds me a lot of another guy called Chris Weidman's record.
Ooh.
I'm going to stay away from it. And I also want everyone to remember the ass whoop. Like, this is how little I think of Thompson. You put an ass whooping on somebody. I'll talk about it again later. Luque, KO round 3.
I'm going Luque decision. You're switching my mind back over. I'm going to be iffy on DraftKings on this one. This is a tentative fight. I'm not going to go heavy on my money on this one. This is a super close fight. So it's going to be one to sit back, watch, and enjoy. Then we're going to move on to...
I'm going to move it to round 2 right now.
Woo! Doubling down.
Round 2.
Doubling down. I love it. Moving on to the co-main event. Late breaking news before we started recording. There has been all sorts of talk that we have Darren Till having visa issues, still not being cleared. He did finally get in the United States, but he has, who on short notice? Cannonier standing by, weighing in on short notice, not only because Darren Till might have visa issues, but because...
But I thought you said he made it in.
He made it in, but he's still not cleared through the department. So he's still not training, and he had to miss the open workouts that are going on right now.
Is that Ali Abdelaziz bullshit to hype this fight? I'm just saying.
So,
I don't know what's going on. Just go on, finish it.
So they're saying that he still hasn't got open workouts to even train since he's gotten into New York because he's had all of these other clerical issues. So he's someone to watch out for in making weight as well. We just saw Manny Bermudez move up a weight, which Darren Till is doing at 185 pounds here against Kevin Gastelum. And he could miss weight here as well. So we got to wait till weigh-ins here. But at 85, it is the debut for Darren Till, a 17-2 record. He's getting his first 2 losses ever, moving up after getting demolished by T. Wood and Jorge Masvidal. Finished dead. Absolutely, both of those times it was submitted by T. Wood. He got rocked on the feet. He was saying that it was the weight cuts that were hurting him. Against Masvidal, same thing, but he ate a left hand. Southpaws versus southpaw for Darren Till is a very tricky matchup. And going back and watching some tape, anytime would Dalby that draw, Dalby switched it up in a southpaw, and really Till uses that advantage as a southpaw against a lot of his opponents. But when he faces another southpaw like KG, Kelvin Gastelum, when he's got the mini champ, the Triple C in his corner over at King's MMA, if you like to see some cringiness, KG's turning it up. He's got the little C talking all sorts of hype in there, coming off of a fight of the year contender with Israel Adesanya. The most hurt we've ever seen Israel Adesanya at 85. Kelvin Gastelum made the move up from 70 up to 85, and it's shown against Souza, against multiple other ranking guys in there. Who else did he beat at 85? Bisping via TKO. Lost to Weidman submission, which has only been his really big loss in there. KG has really proven that the size doesn't affect him as much. He has a great left hand, crisp boxing, one of the best 1-2s in the game. I say it every time. Great gas tank. And if you need to see any more Mexican heart, what else did you need? A lot of other guys would have quit in that 5th round against Adesanya.
He was getting pieced.
He was getting pieced up and could have easily turned over, and Kevin Lee did in there, but did not. Went to decision. Is that the type of fight?
Muay Thai? Is it the same kind of style as Till has?
Till is a Muay Thai
Adesanya?
striker. It's different types because Tills is more of a Thailand European, where Adesanya is like this New Zealand, Dan Hooker, Volkanovski, where they did their own. It's very Dutch. It's a very Dutch style of Muay Thai with different setups, where Till is more of the boxing, will throw some body kicks in there and then box again. But Darren Till's a one-hitter quitter. He throws 1 or 2 shots at most, and when he gets going at best, it's about 3 shots. He just doesn't put combinations in there on the ground.
Who does he look like in that picture? What kind of haircut is that? What do you think? What do you got?
John Connor from Terminator 2.
This is what I think.
The little Lloyd from Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah, look at that. Let me go back.
That's great in there. But in here, as far as that's an awesome one. The striking advantage, I feel like the power goes to Gastelum, but technically, supposedly, Till should have the better there. I think that the biggest advantage here is that KG will throw in a couple takedowns or even options of takedowns, which is going to get Till reacting on those takedowns a little bit more. KG is a little more versatile, more of the MMA fighter. If this goes to the ground at all, Kelvin is going to be able to fat man's roll and just do a lot more than Till would like in here. But I think just if Kelvin touches the knees, he gets those uppercuts and 1 and 2s moving a lot better. Jimmy Gastelum decision, I could even see a finish here. I just am not on Till. I feel like Till's best showing was obviously that Cerrone fight, but that was it. He was a flash in the pan. As you were saying with other fights, likely he talked his way to where he was, and once he got there, he's like, oh shit, these guys are a lot better than I thought they were.
He thinks I have the skills to be the best in the world. I think I have the skills on the right day to be the best in the world. I was like, what the fuck? Get the marbles out of your mouth, man. Sorry, I'm all hating on Till.
I don't give a fuck about anything. I'm going to talk about a kiss. I'm going to talk about anything. You want a spa? You want a spa?
Spa?
Spa. You want a spa? So, give me Kelvin Gastelum. I could even see a finish here. Who do you think you're going to end up picking in this one for the co-main event of the night?
I have Gastelum for a finish. I have him to finish round 2. If everybody and their cousin is knocking out Till, guess what? Gastelum's gonna too. He has better hands than anyone that Darren Till's ever fought. So if Jorge Masvidal can find those punches through to knock him out, and then it was a submission by Woodley.
But it started by the hands. He knocked him down with the hands.
It went crazy. And he knocked him down more than once, didn't he?
I believe so.
And the Stephen Thompson decision, we all know he didn't win that shit.
100%.
We all know he didn't win that shit. It was such a push of a fight. I feel like Gastelum gets all the hate. He's comfortable at 185. Adesanya is a way better striker than Darren Till. So I think Kelvin Gastelum finds his way through. And if everybody else can find his chin, Gastelum will sure find it. If it makes it to decision, I still have Kelvin Gastelum in that. He's a better fighter everywhere. I really even think this could be Ali. They're smart. Like, his management's smart. It could be leaking things, getting all into Till's head. You are right. Watch that scale for Darren Till. Oh, you know what? Watch it still. Watch it still. He's the kind of cocky bastard that would gain too much muscle mass or not try to cut hard enough that it could still affect him. And I hope for him Push him back. Let him fight overseas. Do what they kind of did to Jake Matthews. Take Darren Till and do that route with him. Like, let him be big cards on other events for a while. Let him get some big things of him and rebuild steam and rebuild. He kind of got too cocky, too, and became kind of an asshole. Kelvin Gastelum's a sleeper. And really, with the exception of grabbing that belt when he carried Henry Cejudo's belt in, which was such a douche move, Kelvin Gastelum has been nothing but stand-up and a professional and amazing at the sport in every way but cutting weight. So it takes one to know one, but Kelvin has found his spot at 185, and he's part of the reason the division was great again. Speaking of making a division great again, Kelvin Gastelum.
My champ.
KO,
my champ.
round 2.
I'm going to switch to KO round 3. I like what you're saying in there, but I do like the finish for Kelvin in there. 9,200 for the minus 200 favorite. One of the bigger favorites of the night against debuting at 85. Darren Till at 7,000 even. I think it's KG or no play here against Till.
I kind of do too. I don't see any route for Darren Till in this fight.
I agree with that, honestly.
But I've always thought he was overrated. Yeah, it was a great cowboy fight, called it to a T, and then nothing else.
And then we called Masvidal to a T. We both had, I feel
Nothing
like, Masvidal as well.
Yeah,
Easy.
else.
So, I agree.
Yeah, look at that's what it is. That's what it is.
Then we get to the main event, the reason we're all here, to crown the official baddest motherfucker on the planet. We got Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is gonna officially come out and crown the champion here. He said that he has other news that he can't say yet. Do you want to make a bet on what do you think it is? Because I'm pretty sure I know what he's gonna come out and say. I got $100. I'll just say it. I got $100 that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson just says, hey, guess what? I'm now working as PR for the UFC. Not that controversial, but it is the one thing he's holding on to. The bit he's been tweeting about lately.
Or he's gonna drop a fucking silly movie and be like, I'm gonna be the new Han Solo. Like, or some garbage shit like that. Or he is gonna say he's taking a fight in the UFC.
Oh shit. If
Do you think that? I'll take that $100 bet. I don't think that he's gonna come out and say PR. That's who gives a fuck.
That's why, because it's so dirty.
Yeah, but if he says it's gonna be a big deal or something like that, I'll take that bet. Dwayne Johnson, it's going to be something different. He's pretty good. He'll be like, listen, jabronis, I'm going to, will he announce? What's his deal?
Well, that's where I think he's a part of the UFC. He gets hired on the UFC. I think he's going to release
something out of the Performance Training Institute, like workout videos maybe. Like, there's something to brew, but I don't think it's just going to be PR. Like, him taking like he's a real baller from the TV show.
DC's on his side.
No, I don't think so. But or if he's immediately going to announce, and that's the whole reason that Conor was over there, immediately afterward to whoever the winner is, that Conor McGregor's taking the next fight.
He's the one who announces it.
Yeah.
Oh, because he's
it's
come
all
out and
attached
said
with everything that's
right. Because he said he officially has a fight, but he hasn't said who.
Yeah, and it's The Rock. You're gonna get The Rock there, and you're gonna have him announce PR shit. No way, no day. It's got to be big. The Rock's like he's probably the biggest star in the world right now.
Agreed.
And don't tweet at me with a Kardashian. I know there's other people, but I think there's a lot of people that aren't on Instagram and shit like that. There's a lot of people with real lives out there. Not me, but there are people.
Other people.
So this main event, I was going to design a BMF belt for our show, but then I didn't want you all to give extra hate to the UFC when Twitter gets lit on fire when they release the UFC BMF.
Do you think
belt.
it's going to be good or bad, though, the BMF?
It doesn't matter what it is. It could be the best design thing. They could have Jacob the jeweler design it, and it could be the best belt, and everybody's just a fucking hater. Everybody's a fucking hater.
It's easy to be a hater.
Yeah, and the new belt isn't bad at all. For as much hate that it got, it actually looks a lot more expensive than the old belt to me. The old belt now that we are getting used to this new one, it kind of looks like faux or something. It looks like plastic or something.
It's supposed to be cheaper than the old belt. as far as the make compared to the new one.
Well, everyone's saying because you don't keep getting another one. I think
Right.
it's more expensive to make, but they used to get a real one every
Correct.
time. But it's not really. It's this market value that they give to it of $300,000. But it's just a market value they give to it.
Right.
Yeah. So the BMF belt, it should be interesting. A question before we get into it: do you think it's a title that they fight for again? Like if Conor were to take it, do you think we see this BMF title change and it's not something that you race to the division for? Only the BMF can call you out. Like new rules.
Oh, I love that. Well, you know the first rule of UFC is you never trust Dana White. So he officially said it's a one and done, which means there's a contender. They already got a motherfucking contender.
Yoel Romero's on the back up.
Yeah, exactly. So this has to definitely, I love the call out if they played it that way, but this supposedly is going to be the one and done. We'll see.
No way, no day. I'll put $100 that it's not the one and done.
I love that. Woo! We don't do two. Woo! I will take that.
You think it's one and done?
I think it's one and done. But I am breaking the don't.
MF2.
So definitely in there. It's gonna be interesting the way.
For the listeners, we actually, we drop a bill on it.
Woo-woo.
We drop a bill on it. We keep it real. I got these winnings over here for Chad Mendez and Leslie Smith champ. What was that about, the Leslie Smith champ? That she'd never fight again? What did
I think she might have to come back out of retirement potentially as well.
Oh, so I get to keep it.
So she went to Bellator, I feel like.
I don't remember. You guys can remind me.
So, back to the main event. This one had us on the edge of our seat. Do you think, though, that if Leon Edwards would have stepped in, this would still be for the BMF?
Fuck no.
I thank you.
He's
right?
not a BMF.
Fucking garbage.
Like, I love Leon Edwards. I think everyone's sleeping on him. I think he could be a potential champion that pisses you all off more than Usman did. Like, but I just don't think he doesn't have this tenure like these dudes do.
He doesn't have a 500 record, guys.
He hasn't been in a million wars.
So.
Well, you know what, though? These guys have been fighting literally neither of them has ever fought a can. They've been fighting legends their whole career. That's so different than Leon Edwards. Not that I don't think he's of their caliber, but I just think the caliber of fighter he's crawled through compared to these two guys to get to this point right now. I also don't think, this is where I think everyone should get off of it. This should have zero to do with the 170 division at all.
Rankings at all. I agree. At all.
And for you guys that are all like, well, this would unite it. Jorge Masvidal, he deserves the shot. No, he stepped out of line for that shot when he decided he was going to fight Nate Diaz. That's how I feel about it. Like
he stepped out of line for the paycheck.
Yeah, like that's how.
Yeah,
and frankly, I would rather Usman Covington all day.
Yep.
All day.
Yep.
If it gets to, you guys are so excited about Maya versus Askren, but you're not going to be so excited about Covington versus Usman? You guys are a bunch of haters. I'm calling you out right now. I'm going to put 100 on that. Sorry, get back to it. You ain't a West Coast gangster.
So, here at 170, we know what we're getting with Jorge Masvidal and Nate Diaz. They've been fighting forever from the streets of, where is it? Inglewood? Where is Sacktown? Out of Sacktown for Diaz. 209 coming against the 305 Miami. This is definitely for the coast's biggest badass in there. With Masvidal, he was before
This
Usman.
is East Coast, West Coast.
Yeah, this is Tupac Biggie.
Oh, shit.
So, in here. So, they both lose is the moral of that story. They both. So, back.
That's what The Rock's going to announce.
Damn.
Can you imagine if he just friggin' pulled out a gun?
Jesus Christ, what is going on here? You're gonna get us. You're gonna get us demonetized.
Hush your mouth! We'll lose our sponsor.
So here,
baddest motherfucker Tiger House. That's off the chain.
Unbelievable fight.
Sorry.
Unbelievable. But with Masvidal, this was the guy that we had being a title contender before Usman. He was the guy that we had all our chips in because he has all the tools.
OG ride or die. It was him and Bullet Shevchenko. That's how long.
Leslie Smith.
She was always our underdog, but we never thought she was going to be a champion.
Right.
We rode with Valentina for years, and Masvidal the same. We actually thought Masvidal would come up, but then something happened that we were like,
He started point fighting, which is what he said he turned around in these last two winning streak that he's had. At 30,
yeah, you can tell in the Askren fight that he turned around his point fight.
At 34-13, Jorge Masvidal comes in with all those tenures. He's mainly a kickboxer, but at ATT, he used to have Colby Covington in his back corner. That's where he got his wrestling chops up to par. He went to a loss, split decision with Damian Maia, where he set the blueprint of how to beat Damian Maia. People saw after Masvidal like, okay, this is what you do. Masvidal went to the ground multiple times or wasn't able to keep it off the ground, but he didn't get submitted like other fighters in there. So definitely something to do in there. He can switch it up on you. He's a real-time fight IQ that is off the charts for Masvidal. Look at that Till fight. Look at his other fights is why we like him. He makes real-time reads and implements them really well. He has one of the best chins in the game. Every time you see him get hit, he wakes up on the way down and is in a fight like nothing happened. Got dropped versus Till. Just can't take much away from that Ben Askren fight because I think as Ben Askren careers goes on, it's not going to look as good in the UFC. But either way, we know what we're getting with Jorge Masvidal, and it is a very complete fighter with a good chin and great fight IQ. He's finally putting it all together and making a run for that title, even though this doesn't implicate that title. This is just a money grab on the side. This is a Mayweather-McGregor type of a fight. Like, McGregor didn't go into boxing fucking ranks after that. No, he just made a shit ton of money, as you were saying before. But
yeah, they're both they're both making six figures.
USADA overturned an entire fucking conclusion because this is making so much money. In a state that taxes you more than any other state, that's how much money this fight is making. That's fucking oodles. Oodles and oodles of money. So, here against Nate Diaz comes in with that unreal pace, setting all sorts of record on people's faces. 4 most strikes ever landed, coming off of a win against Anthony Pettis in a decision, piecing him up, making it a 30-26 type of fight, losing a controversial decision over McGregor, which he won that second fight in that 5-rounder over McGregor. I went back and watched. Conor turned and ran, where Diaz was definitely down to scrap in there. But Diaz keeps it mainly boxing. He has a good clinch, good knees, chin of granite as well. The only time he's ever been finished was with kicks from not Stephen Thompson, freaking Josh Thompson in there, and it was a standing TKO. Diaz will not quit in there, and that's something you can take to the bank. You have to finish him in order to get him out of there.
Finish him.
So there has, as I was saying earlier with another fighter, Diaz I feel like is vulnerable to the body. He doesn't like body shots. He's definitely a lot leaner. He's proven that he had that gas tank, but his boxing has been really crisp. But I think Masvidal can exploit that. Masvidal has that Cuban boxing style, much more underrated than people give it. I don't think Masvidal stays in front of Diaz, and the guy who has more tools in his toolbox is Masvidal with those leg kicks. Diaz has never checked kicks well and has gotten that leg picked apart even though he stays in fight. That's where you can start to get strike differentials against Diaz, is when you start to go to the lower extremities. So I think Masvidal can play it heavy there. If it goes to the ground, Diaz does have an advantage, but if Damian Maia can't submit you, I don't think Nathan Diaz is going to be able to submit you in there as well. This goes 5 rounds, but I don't think it gets there. I think Jorge Masvidal, getting into that later 4th and 5th round, has enough power and has enough reads that he's going to go in there and it won't be a one-and-quitter. It's not going to be a Darren Till laying him out stiff, but it is going to be a body shot that sets up a 7-punch combination, and Herb Dean steps in, and it could be another standing TKO. Round number 4, give me Jorge Masvidal in this one, the favorite. Who do you have in this fight, and why?
I hope I don't sway your mind again, since I have so many times so far on the main card.
You have.
So, to me, Jorge Masvidal, the more well-rounded fighter here, is by far Nathan Diaz.
Woo!
And Jorge Masvidal always has a problem with long, lanky guys. The better hands, to me, I like Nate's boxing better than Jorge's. I think Jorge is tough and he's super well-rounded. He may be the first super well-rounded guy in the sport. In the whole sport. That age could be catching up. And that Ben Askren, that shit ain't gonna happen to Nate. Nate has killer ring IQ, and Nate would beat Ben Askren right now. This is kind of 2 155ers not having to kill their body, so we're going to get to see full Nate. I think as the fight goes on, Nate's going to get better and better. We see Jorge get winded more. On the ground, it's not just submission, but one thing Damian Maia, he tries for submission, but he ain't cutting you up with elbows. He ain't fighting from the bottom. He ain't fighting from the top. Nate is better striking everywhere than even Maya. And one thing we saw hugely in his last fight is him checking leg kicks all day. It's like he actually fixed that part of his game. I like the time that he's taking off. I love that this fight is so close on Tapology, that it's actually 50-50 on Tapology. I don't think either guy finishes the either guy at all because they are bad motherfuckers. These two are the reason we show up for this sport. So I give it to Nate Diaz all day. I think you call out a guy because you see holes that you can exploit. You don't call out somebody because you're like, this guy, he got pieced apart that you could have given 30-26 Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. I can do that to him because Wonderboy is over the hill. So you're like, this guy finished Askren. Overall, that'll be his best highlight for Jorge Masvidal, but it will be against Ben Askren, who everyone will say was a UFC never was. Even though you know he's amazing, it's just like Jorge or Ben Askren coming in looks like your grandfather asking your grandma to dance. It's like, dude, you got the worst. You're so confident in your takedown ability that when you come in, you just look like Garbooty. So I don't know. To me, I think Nate Diaz talks shit in there. I think we haven't ever seen Jorge get super emotional inside the octagon. And we know Nate's game. We know he's good under the lights. I think this is a bigger deal for Jorge. I think this call out from Nate is an equivalent to a McGregor call out. Either guy who goes home wins. Give me Diaz. I think he ekes it out. I think that killer cardio comes through. And I could see a late submission like round 5 for Nate Diaz.
Wow.
Just by the accumulation and how bad Jorge Masvidal's cardio does fall off. It's been a long time since it's 5 rounds. Been a long time. But.
Definitely a fight of the year contender as well on a card of nothing but fight of the year contenders. This is Much Watch TV. The minus 170 favorite, Jorge Masvidal, at 8,800 against Nathan Diaz's plus 140, 7,400. I could even see a stack here because if it goes into the later rounds with the output they both have, they both can be money pots in here. I'm gonna probably go a little heavier on Diaz, honestly, for that price tag of 7.4. If it goes into the third for Diaz, he pays off 7.4.
I will go on Diaz. I might play Jorge on a few, but I just don't feel good about it. I think he's kind of had this lucky run. I think I know everyone's like, he was training that knee. Everyone, watch every Ben Askren fight. He literally comes in for every takedown the same. It would be silly if he didn't have trained that knee. So I just don't. I think everybody hates on Nate, but I think he's doing everything right. I think he has a little money, little camp. Yeah. What a great fight.
What a great card. Fight. What a great night of fights. New York, you're definitely getting a treat. We're all going to be holding on to the seat of our pants. Be sure to stick around to watch.
And I've been putting down my picks kind of early. And if you listen to this, because I know the second this comes out, everyone will be changing their picks on Discord. Fight Big Championship is what you're talking about. Don't take that first one. This is my new one. So,
clapping back.
Yeah, you know. Hashtag clap back.
Clap back, baby.
Clap back. But I also am going to actually not release the card until after I get to see weigh-ins with my peepers. It is so important. This card is greatness.
Absolutely greatness. Thank you for sticking around. Anything left for all of them.
Thanks for listening. And now you go out there and be a BMF.
Not me.